So get this, an extra hole at the upper part of the sink has multiple hidden functions. First, in case someone forgets to close the tap, the water won't overflow and the bathroom won't get flooded. Second, thanks to that hole, the water drains faster and it gives an escape for the air, helping the water flow down. Those two holes on a side of any Converse shoe are not only to let the stinky air out. Sure, breathability is important for any athlete. The second reason is that athletes lace through those holes to get a better grip. Donuts have a hole in the middle and it doesn't stand for O in donut. It's not designed for an easier grip either, though it can be quite convenient. It's actually made this way for mass baking, so that they can cook all the way through evenly. Baby carrots are tiny and, unlike regular carrots, wet. Baby carrots aren't some special sort of carrots. They're actually made of regular carrots by cutting off the skin and outer layers and then polishing them to look that pretty. The problem is that they can't retain moisture. A regular carrot retains some water inside because of the layers that locks it in. Once they're chopped out, baby carrots can dry out easily, so they usually sell them in bags with some water inside. Toy stores are filled with Beanie Baby plush toys, and a detail that is even more iconic than their huge eyes is their tags saying TY. That's a small manufacturing company not so many people have heard of. Beanie Babies appeared in 1993 and they went insanely popular. TY is the name of the company, but it's not an abbreviation. It's the actual name of the company's founder, H. Ty Warner. Most metallic zippers have a hidden lock inside them to save you from awkward situations, such as an undone fly. Oh boy. Don't leave the zipper handle in an upward position. When you pull it downwards, it automatically locks. It's all thanks to those tiny grooves hidden underneath the handle. Almost any public toilet has a large gap between the floor and the door. The reason for such a zero privacy thing is to actually minimize the level of privacy and comfort, so that people wouldn't stay there long and there'd be no lines. It's also easier to clean, and safer if some emergency occurs. Headrests in a car are about comfort, and detachable headrests are about safety. If you pull the headrest out of a seat, you'll see two bars, which are quite sturdy. If you ever get locked or trapped in a car, you can get out of there smashing the window with these bars. Many cups and mugs have little grooves on the bottom on purpose. They're designed for dishwashing machines. The grooves let the water flow and not spill over your feet when you take the cup out. Also, those grooves let the air flow, so the cup doesn't crack even if the tea is scalding. Almost all measuring tapes have a metal tip with a small slot on the end. You can use this slot to hang the tape on a nail or a screw to make measurements without anyone's help. Sometimes this tip has a row of sharp points along the edge on one side. That comes in handy when you want to leave a mark without using a pencil. Doorknobs are usually made of brass, bronze, and some other copper alloys for a reason. They have an antibacterial effect, so they stop microbes from spreading. They get rid of a range of harmful germs pretty fast, within a couple of hours. But don't forget to wash your hands anyway. Grocery carts have loops for a reason. You don't want to put your jacket in a cart next to potatoes and onions. Hang it on a loop. This little hook-like thing is there to help you better organize the space in your cart. The carts also have a super handy grid. Whenever the cart's full, you just need to lift the grid and attach the shopping basket for extra purchases, placing it in between the horizontal bar above the wheels and the hooks the grid has. A point in an ointment cap is there for a reason too. Most tubes are usually sealed with foil, and it's better to avoid opening it with fingers unless you're ready to say goodbye to your nails. A point easily opens even the most safely sealed tube. Silica gel can often be found in different things you buy, like bags, shoes, and many others. Don't throw it away. It's meant to absorb excess moisture, so anytime your shoes are a bit wet, just throw in a packet with silica gel. People used to co-live with rats, and these guys like gnawing on everything they see in their way, including paper. Still, rats weren't able to chew more than the space left on the margins. That black grate on a microwave isn't just some fancy decoration. It's called a Faraday shield, and it prevents the rays from escaping the microwave. It also speeds up the heating, so you can enjoy yesterday's leftovers faster. It may also block phone signals, so if you're tired of numerous calls, just put the phone into a microwave. But don't turn it on. All Tic Tac containers are designed to dispense one Tic Tac every time you open it. The lid has the same shape as the candy. Turn the container upside down, gently shake it, and open it slowly. You'll notice only one candy stuck between those lid grooves. So if you just open the container and shake it until 5 or even more candies fall into your mouth, it means you've been eating Tic Tacs wrong all this time. Those little holes in the airplane windows are designed to control the cabin pressure. They also protect the windows from fogging up as the temperatures drop and rise. By the way, the airplane window is round for a reason. This way, pressure is evenly distributed so it doesn't get deformed. Blue bristles on a toothbrush are actually an indicator that it's just about time to change the brush. As the bristles get in contact with water, the blue, or whatever other, pigment fades away, so the more you use it, the duller the color becomes. A triple handle on a jerry can is there to make it easier for two people to carry it and distribute the fuel evenly. Gas cans often have a second hole that actually needs to be uncapped too before you pour the gas. The air passage will prevent it from pouring out, so no more fuel waste. Jeans first appeared in 1873. They were invented by Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss. Davis was a tailor who was producing covers and tents, and Strauss was a businessman who, among other things, was selling cloth. The first jeans were made by Davis from denim, the fabric he bought from Levi Strauss & Co. Together, they patented the design. Blue was a standard color for denim that was dyed using an indigo dye. The blue color is a tradition that is still often followed today to replicate the original look of a pair of jeans. Jeans also have metal rivets, and they've been there from the very beginning. Jacob Davis, the man who made the first pair of jeans, added copper rivets to spots where pants were more likely to rip, flies, and pockets to make them stronger. Today, they have more of a decorative purpose since they're distinctive and traditional for jeans. Another special thing about jeans is those tiny pockets they have that seemingly serve no purpose. Well, maybe it's true now, but years ago, when many cowboys were wearing jeans, the pocket was made specifically to keep a pocket watch there. Also, back then, a pair of jeans had just 4 pockets. That tiny pocket, the watch pocket, 2 big pockets in front, and just 1 pocket on the back. Many zippers have the letters YKK engraved on them. It's an abbreviation that stands for the name of the company that can be translated as Yoshida Manufacturing Shareholding Company. This Japanese company is the largest zipper manufacturer in the world, so they put their initials on all the zippers they produce. That's around half of the zippers in the world. And that's why you see their zippers more often than any other zippers. Those little white golf balls have dimples all over them. It turns out they aren't there just randomly. At first, golfers were playing with a smooth ball. With time, the ball would get all punched and damaged, but also it would start to travel way further. The reason here is aerodynamics. Dimples allow the air to flow more smoothly around the ball, taking it further. So the idea was adopted and the balls got their dimples all around, allowing them to travel longer distances.
You've probably noticed that train and bus seats are covered in fabrics with weird patterns. Have any idea why? Well, they use these patterns to cover any germs and stains on the seats. The brighter the color and the more patterned it is, the harder it will be for passengers to notice any stains and get grossed out. Also, the patterns are usually so ugly that no one even wants to look at them for long enough to spot any stains. So yeah, the pattern is there to make you look away, and if you look, to make it less noticeable. No bus will ever have plain white seats, that's a guarantee. Just a few more bus-related questions to answer, like why don't buses have seatbelts? Buses are overall way safer than cars because they were designed this way. The idea behind this is called compartmentalization, meaning that the seats have high backs that absorb energy. The seats are also placed close to one another, so there's less space to move in case of an impact. Also, on a bus, the passengers sit pretty high off the ground, and in case of a collision, the force is absorbed by the bus's deck and not by the people inside. On top of that, a bus is way heavier than most other vehicles, and even if there is a collision, it distributes the force way differently than a regular car. Due to its weight, a lot of force is absorbed, and bus passengers don't experience much crush force. So, small and light buses that can't distribute the force as well actually do require seatbelts. And we have to remember that buses drive slowly, which minimizes the risk of an accident overall. We all know that school buses are yellow, but why? It's for visibility reasons. Yellow is one of the most easily recognized colors, and for a human eye, yellow is even more visible than, say, red. So, school buses are yellow to make them more distinctive. Also, yellow is visible in the dark, in fog, and on a rainy day. Actually, the color of the bus isn't really a true yellow. It also has a hint of orange. This shade even has an official name: National School Bus Glossy Yellow. By the way, taxicabs are yellow for the same reason, to be more visible in any weather conditions. Also, buses have huge steering wheels, and I finally learned why. Buses are bigger than regular cars, and they're also way heavier. So it's harder to turn a bus around, and way more strength is required to do so than when you drive a car. A bigger steering wheel that has a bigger radius allows the driver to turn the vehicle more easily, and it requires less force than if the wheel were smaller. Trucks have big steering wheels for the same reason. But have you seen those stuffed toys that some trucks have attached in front of them? Turns out, it's just a way for truck drivers to customize their vehicles. It's like a mascot that speaks about the truck or the driver. It's also a way to communicate to the world that the truck driver isn't all scary and tough, but a soft and harmless person that you shouldn't be afraid of. At least, that's how some truck drivers explain it. In Asia, there's also a belief that road accidents are caused by ghosts, and hanging toys are a way to distract the ghosts from causing harm to the truck. Ever been on a road trip? If you're not the driver, all you have to do is just sit in one place and do basically nothing for hours. Doesn't sound like a hard task, but some people find it terribly exhausting. And because of this, they resent road trips. Why do they get so tired? Well, sitting in a car isn't like sitting in a chair. The brain doesn't relax. Instead, it controls everything that's going on, accounting for movements and making sure that you maintain the right posture. Your brain is constantly working, exchanging bits of information with your muscles, so your body is working. Some people get tired because of this. If you aren't doing much, it doesn't mean that your body isn't doing much. Train rides are way more tolerable because trains don't stop or change speeds as often as cars do, so the body is more relaxed, and train trips are way more tolerable for people who aren't fans of road trips. Another mystery is why it's way harder to stand still in the same spot for 30 minutes in comparison to, for example, walking for 30 minutes. Again, it sounds like you're not doing anything when you're standing, so why is it so tiring? Well, standing is a pretty hard task for your body. When standing, the muscles in your legs work very hard to support the mass of your whole body. If you're standing, there are not many muscles working, and only a few of them have to do all the work. When walking, there are more muscles working at the same time, so it's easier. Also, when standing, both of your legs are working without stopping. But when walking, each of them gets a tiny break each time you step using the other leg. Why is it that the same book can have different covers? There are several reasons for this. First, the cover may vary because of the target audience. An edition of a book that is being marketed to older people is usually different from the edition aimed at younger people, with the one for younger people usually being brighter and cuter. The cover can also depend on the country the book is being sold in, trying to attract as many buyers as possible based on the tastes of the population. Next, books vary from edition to edition. At first, a book is printed in hardcover in small quantities to see how it'll do on the market. If the book is a relative success, there is another edition printed, often in trade paperback. The design of the cover is usually updated with every edition. Also, if a book has a movie based on it, there is usually another edition that follows. This edition will take advantage of the movie and use a movie scene as the cover, making it recognizable for people who saw and liked the movie, and encouraging them to buy a copy of the book. Most books are printed on yellowish paper, and few have plain white pages. But why is that? Unless it's a mass-market paperback edition, with paper that's the same quality as a newspaper, meaning bad. It's done with good quality paper. Don't let the yellow hue confuse you. It's usually called cream, and it's a preference for any book because it's less tiring on the reader's eyes. The plain white paper is bleached, and it reflects a lot of light, so it can be exhausting to read for a long time. So, that yellowish paper is the best paper, and publishers regularly use it. Another thing about books is those blank pages they often have at the very end. Their number depends on the number of pages in the book. The thing is that books are printed in signature. A signature is a group of pages that printers fold together and cut to make a book. A signature can have a different number of book pages, with the minimum being 4, and then with other numbers divisible by 4. So, a book that is 300 pages long in total will fit in perfectly, and there will be no blank pages left. But if a book needs 303 pages, it'll need an additional signature, and the extra pages will remain blank, often marked with the word notes or with the message, "This page is intentionally left blank," to let the reader know that there's no important information missing. Ever wondered why most doctors have sloppy handwriting? No, there's no class in medical colleges on bad handwriting. The reason why it's so common is that doctors are always in a rush, and they write as fast as possible to keep their momentum, so there's no time to care about writing nicely. Also, keep in mind that you're not the only person who they write a prescription for over the course of a day. Doctors do a lot of paperwork, working for 10 hours straight, and they're just too tired most of the time to give you a properly written note. Have you noticed that most songs, in general, last somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes? Well, originally, songs were being played on a phonograph record player from a vinyl record, which was spinning at 78 revolutions per minute. So, the size of the vinyl record basically determined the length of the song. There were 2 basic record sizes, a 10-inch one, which had room for about 3 minutes of playtime, and a 12-inch, which could fit a 4-minute song. So, at the beginning of the 20th century, if an artist wanted their song played, they couldn't make it longer than that if they wanted to be able to sell a record. Times have changed, but still, most songs are about 3 to 4 minutes long. The initial reason for sticking to this pattern was also because of radio. If a song was too long, it would either get cut in half or some parts would be left off to make it fit into the 3 to 5 minute radio standard. If an artist wanted the song on the radio, and if they wanted to earn money from it, they'd do their best to make a song that fits the standard, so that the whole piece could be played without alterations. Today, even if there are longer songs, a 3 to 4 minute song is now a tradition that artists typically stick to.
Now here's a trick. Instead of putting the box grater vertically on top of a plate, put it horizontally, with no plate underneath, of course. This way you won't risk scraping your knuckles because only your fingertips will eventually touch the grater when you reach the end of the process. Also, it gives the grater more stability, when otherwise you'd have to balance the grater or even hold it in the air with the other hand. When you're done, or when there's just too much grated stuff on the bottom wall of the grater, simply turn it on its side to pour the contents into the bowl or plate. Flowers in a vase would stay fresher for longer if not for the bacteria that breed in the water. Since copper has some antibacterial properties, dropping a penny into the water will help keep the microbes at bay and let you enjoy your flowers for that little bit longer. An easy way to check if your bed linen has dried completely is to put a small mirror in between the layers for about 5 minutes. If the mirror has steamed up when you pick it up, it means the sheets are still a bit damp. Let them dry until the mirror stops getting cloudy. A damp bed is a lovely breeding ground for fungi and bacteria. Okay, I'm in. If you have a not very healthy habit of eating in front of your computer, you'll be surprised at how much crumbs and grime there is inside your keyboard. Now, you can just turn it over and shake it vigorously, of course, but that's not very good for any piece of tech, you know. So instead, take a Post-it note and run its sticky part over the keyboard. It will collect the little pieces of trash like magic. Even a better way to do it, though, is to take a slime and stick it to the keyboard, then take it away, squeeze it, and stick again in another part. The slime will fill the entire space between the keys, and its sticky properties will let it gather every little bit of garbage. Separating egg yolks from whites is easier using a plastic bottle. Break the necessary number of eggs into a bowl, and then take an empty plastic bottle and squeeze it. Hold the bottle over the yolk and release. It'll pull in air and the yolk together, leaving the white in the bowl. Repeat with the rest of the yolks and you're done. And that's no yolk. If you're tired of spitting out the stones when eating cherries or want to make a cherry pie, push the stones out with a straw. Also, many garlic presses have a special tool on their handle that can be used exactly for that. Cleaning a blender can be a nuisance if you do it manually. Instead, fill it with hot water and add some liquid soap or detergent, then run it for about 10 seconds. Rinse it afterwards, and it's clean. Plaster walls can crumble, flake, and spread dust all over the floor when you hammer nails into it. Cut a strip of masking tape and stick it to the place you want to hammer a nail in. The tape won't let the plaster crack and crumble, leaving the hole neat and clean. Small scratches and dents on wooden furniture can be removed with some toothpaste or a walnut. For toothpaste, rub a pea-sized amount of leftovers with a damp cloth. For a walnut, take a half of that brain-shaped nut and rub it into the dent. Then rub the area with your fingers and buff it with a soft cloth. This will help the wood absorb the oil from the nut, making the scratch sealed and gone. The sticky residue on jars left after you remove the stickers won't be easily removed by water and detergent. So, take some vegetable oil instead. Soak a cotton pad in it and wipe the sticky surface. Let it sit for a while and then wash the oil away together with the residue. If you can't comfortably reach the wick of a candle with a lighter, take a stick of spaghetti. Light up its end and you'll get a burning stick that's easy to use for hard-to-reach places. Now, next time your razor blade's getting dull, try rubbing it backwards on a pair of jeans for regular upkeep. Not while you're wearing them, of course. Make sure you keep the blades dry, too, or even kept in mineral oil. That'll stop them from rusting. Keep all those jelly, ketchup, peanut butter, and mayo fresher for longer in your fridge by turning the contents upside down. This creates a partial vacuum inside the container, helping prevent mold growth. Storing ice cream upside down will prevent freezer burn, too. To bring your permanent marker back to life, simply put a few drops of rubbing alcohol into the felt material inside and shake. Once the felt absorbs the rubbing alcohol for a couple of minutes, the marker will be almost as good as new. Now, don't keep throwing away lettuce that goes black too quickly. Covering it with a dry paper towel and then placing it in an airtight container will help it keep fresher for much longer. This goes for any leafy greens you've got leftovers of. That sharpish bit sticking out of the cap of your favorite cream is there for a reason. These tubes are usually sealed with foil, so unless you love breaking your nails trying to open them, just flip the cap over and push. Your bobby pins might not stay in place if the grooves aren't facing the right way. They should always be on the bottom, close to your head. Still coming loose? Well, put a squeeze of hairspray right onto the bobby pin before you put it in your hair. Now, your Cotton Rounds pack has those strings on it, so you can hang it on a handy hook in the bathroom. But there's no need to loosen and tighten it back up every time. Check out the bottom of the pack. It has a perforated line. Tear it open carefully, and you're good to go. 2 zips too much? Maybe, but they come in handy as a clever anti-theft device. Just lock them together. Now no one can open your backpack. Don't have a lock on you? You can also tie them together with some string or even just a paper clip. Anything to slow those pickpockets down. That tiny little button on the back of a shirt collar is used to hold your tie in place. Hey, you don't want your tie trying to escape back there. Shoe manufacturers care about their customers, so most running shoes now have a special anti-blister system pre-installed. Sounds intense, but it's basically just that extra hole on top of your sneakers. Make a loop with the extra hole, inserting the lace backward. Cross your laces and put them through the loops. Now pull the laces down to lock your foot in place. Now run. Yeah, go ahead. Car headrests are all about comfort, and detachable headrests are all about safety. If you pull the headrest out, you'll see 2 sturdy metal bars. If you ever get locked or trapped in your car, you can use the bars to smash the window and get out. If you've got some pesky parsley stuck in your teeth, try this tip. It can be hard to get it out with loose floss. You need more tension, so just tie it in a knot. It's not an accident that soy sauce bottles have 2 spouts. The sauce is liquid and it flows out of the bottle pretty easily once you turn it over. Most Asian food lovers have spilled it at least once in a lifetime. That's why nowadays, restaurants prefer serving soy sauce in special bottles that have two spouts. This design allows you to control when and how much sauce will come out. Just put your finger on one spout when you pour the sauce through another. If you press your finger tightly to the spout, the sauce will stop flowing, and if you remove your finger, it'll flow again. And don't forget to ask your server, "Hey, wasabi!" Alright. A hair straightener is an excellent tool, not only for treating your natural curls, but also for fixing crumpled money or documents. You can also use a regular iron for this purpose. Just make sure you don't turn on steaming mode, otherwise there's a risk of damaging the paper. Hair bands are good not only for getting your hair done, but also to open a glass jar with canned food. Your hands might slip on the tightly closed lid, and if you don't open the can from the first attempt, your palms tend to get sweaty, making the task virtually impossible. So, put a hairband on the lid to fix your hand and make your grasp stronger. A simple rubber band will do as well. Now, it's time to take my sweaty palms and go.
What's hiding inside Coca-Cola cans and regular household batteries? Why do magnets affect breakfast cereals? Do crosswalk buttons actually work, or are they just useless decorations? What does that USB symbol really mean? I'm not sure I know the answers to these and similar questions, but I'm eager to learn the truth together with you. Let's find it out. Coca-Cola cans have a secret few people know about. Here's a Coke can. Let's submerge it in a highly corrosive alkaline solution. The aluminum dissolves due to a process known as hydrolysis, and we can see a plastic liner inside the can. It's made from a polymer or epoxy resin and serves as some kind of a protective barrier between the aluminum walls of the can and the rather acidic soda. Despite a popular myth, household batteries don't actually contain liquid, and if you accidentally cut them open, no toxic liquid will spill. Most of them are dry cell batteries, which are made of electrochemical cells. Those convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Larger batteries often house numerous small cells within them too. Even Tesla vehicle batteries consist of multiple small cells. When combined, they easily provide the necessary voltage. Most toothbrushes have differently colored bristles, but they aren't just pleasing to the eye. Those bristles, often blue, have a functional purpose. They're called toothbrush indicators, and their colors fade as you use the brush. The American Dental Association recommends changing your toothbrush at least 4 times a year. And by getting paler, these bristles help you figure out when it's time to replace your toothbrush. You'll probably agree that there's no better snack than a pack of chips. Some are flat, others have ridges. Is it just aesthetics? Not really. The main purpose of those lines on some kinds of chips is to help with the distribution of spices and seasonings. In other words, all those substances that make your chips taste like cheese are mostly stored inside the lines. Plus, the lines make chips crunchier. Now this one might be a surprise, but some breakfast cereals are magnetic. That's because they're often fortified with iron in the form of a fine powder. Due to the added iron, cereal flakes get attracted to magnets. All this may sound kinda alarming, but in reality, the iron content in the flakes is minimal and doesn't pose any threat to your health. That clear fluid in gel pens is called the ink follower or stopper fluid. The gel in such pens contains pigment particles dissolved in a polymer solution. The main task of the stopper fluid is to be a barrier to prevent the gel from evaporating or leaking out. Without this transparent fluid, your gel pen wouldn't function. The fluid always stays in one position and doesn't get dissolved with the gel. Neither does it move backwards or flow out of the pen. Many pedestrian crosswalk buttons, namely in New York, are placebo buttons. They do literally nothing when you press them. Originally, they were functional after being introduced in 1964, but today, most of them don't affect traffic lights, which are programmed based on the real needs of the traffic flow. Why do such buttons even exist then? It's a simple psychological trick, providing you with an illusion of control. You might have noticed that movie theater seats are almost always red. This choice isn't random, it has strategic importance, which is rooted in visual science. The thing is, red light has a longer wavelength. It means that it's the first color to disappear in low light. It allows the audience to concentrate better on the screen once the movie begins. Such a design choice enhances the viewing experience by minimizing distractions. Speed bumps are crucial for pedestrian safety, but at the same time, they can seriously increase car emissions due to the non-stop acceleration and deceleration they cause. To address this issue, some cities like London are testing fake speed bumps. Those are optical illusions painted on the road. They look raised from a driver's perspective, but in reality, they're flat. Authorities hope that this approach will slow down drivers without having a negative impact on the environment. Soda bottles are always filled in such a way that there's some space between the liquid and the cap. That's because soda contains carbon dioxide. It's a gas that can expand once the bottle's heated. If there's no gap in the bottle, it can break because of the pressure building inside. Also, when you open your drink, the gases go out in the form of bubbles, making the drink overflow. The gap helps with this problem too. The USB symbol, looking like a trident, has always sparked multiple speculations about its origin. One popular idea is that it represents Neptune's trident and symbolizes power and adaptability. But there's also a little bit less exciting theory. A man who claimed to have designed the symbol in the 1980s stated that it was supposed to represent connectivity. The large circle symbolizes a computer, while the attached shapes, the circle, the triangle, and square, stand for different outputs. The design of a tennis racket has a specific feature known as the throat. It's an open space below the head of the racket. This space isn't just for storing balls, it also improves the racket's aerodynamics by letting air pass through. It seriously reduces drag during swings. Speaking of tennis courts are usually built with a north-south orientation. It helps minimize the impact of the sun's position during the game, ensuring that neither player has the sun directly in their eyes. Look closely at a tram's overhead lines, and you'll see that its contact wires zigzag back and forth instead of going in a straight line. That's because all trams have pantographs attached to their roofs. The upper part of the pantograph is gradually worn down by the overhead wire and eventually needs to be replaced. To wear it down evenly, the wire is not installed strictly along the tram's path, but in zigzag patterns. As the tram moves, the pantograph slides along the wire, and it wears down evenly. Those cone-shaped water cooler cups? Their shape is intentionally designed to prevent users from setting the cups down. This allows employees to minimize the risk of spilling water on their desks around various electronic devices. Plus, less material is used to produce cone-shaped cups, which makes the process less wasteful and more cost-effective. It also kinda supports sustainability by encouraging people to drink their water quickly and dispose of their cups immediately after. Most suitcases have 2 zipper pulls, and it serves several purposes. First of all, if one zipper fails, the other can keep the suitcase closed. Even better, having 2 zippers allows you to have easier access to small sections of your suitcase without having to open it entirely. And finally, when you have 2 zippers, you can connect them with a padlock for increased security. Some plastic milk containers have dents on their sides. These dents serve several purposes. When milk spoils, it usually causes swelling and high-pressure buildup inside the container. That's when the dent pops out and doesn't let the jug blow up. Plus, if you decide to freeze the milk, it will expand like any other fluid. And then again, the indentation will pop out and prevent the container from breaking inside your freezer. If you ever had a problem figuring out why fake pockets exist, you need to hear this. The main reason is that if a clothing item has a specific cut or shape, pockets may spoil it. They can alter the item's shape either in the warehouse or already on the retail rack. The solution? Getting rid of the pockets in key areas. Plus, fake pockets are obviously cheaper, and they don't get stretched out. The thermos wasn't actually invented to keep your coffee warm. It was made by a Scottish scientist who wanted a safe place to keep his chemicals at a stable temperature. So, he took 2 bottles, put the smaller one inside the bigger bottle, and vacuumed out the air between them.
Hey there! Quick question. What is the capital of Japan? If you said Tokyo, then you got it right. Tokyo is one of the most modern and colorful cities in Japan. But for over 1,000 years, Kyoto occupied that place. Yeah, I know, the names are similar, but while Tokyo is the futuristic center of Japan, Kyoto is one of the most traditional and historical cities in Japan. It's known as Japan's cultural capital. Let's play a game of Spot the Difference. Here are 2 photos. The first one is from Tokyo, and the second one is from Kyoto. Can you tell what is the main difference between both? Hold that thought for one more second. Here are 2 more pictures. The first one is from Asakusa, a neighborhood in Tokyo, while the second one is from Kyoto. What would you say is the main difference here? Well, you can probably guess where I'm headed. If you didn't figure it out, I'll spell it out for you. The main difference is in the colors. If you've ever had a chance to travel around a bit, you probably noticed how cities have certain color themes. Like Rome is terracotta, and Paris varies in tones of gray and sepia. Looking at these images, one can see that Tokyo is bright, electric, and looks even a bit chaotic. And Kyoto is monochromatic and gives the impression of being calmer and more peaceful. It's fascinating to see that what causes this distinction between both cities has to do with a certain landscape law. You see, in 2007, Kyoto passed a new law prohibiting colorful street signs. The law also wanted to standardize overall constructions to make the city look more homogeneous. Since Kyoto was Japan's capital city for such an extended period of time, it was built using traditional feng shui architecture and principles. That's why so many of the buildings have that traditional Asian shape to them, the one with the curvy ceiling, like you see in the Mulan movie. Sure, this style is very far from what modern architects are doing today. If you take a look at Tokyo, you'd see glass skyscrapers rather than these old buildings. But that's all part of a bigger plan, set in motion by something called the Miyako Landscape Guidelines. The municipality's main argument to pass the law was that Kyoto was losing its unique landscape due to Japan's modernization. If Kyoto were to follow in Japan's footsteps and build humongous skyscrapers, citizens would lose their view of the 3 mountains that surround the city. And let's face it, nobody would want that to happen. Plus, it's nice that you can go to different cities in Japan and notice that they are unique in their own way. If the landscape law was to be effective in all of Japan, we wouldn't get to see architectural marvels such as the Tokyo Sky Tree and the Asahi Flame Building. Now take a look at the Akihabara district in Tokyo. It is known as one of Japan's most modern neighborhoods. It's filled with top-notch technology at every corner. And yes, it's also filled with signs everywhere. If we compare it with Kyoto after the passing of the new law, the first thing that would have to go are the rooftop signs. Oh, and flashing and moving lights are also illegal there now. This Kyoto Starbucks also illustrates what I'm talking about. If you were strolling along the bucolic streets of Kyoto's countryside, searching for a place to get a cappuccino, you'd miss this coffee shop completely. I think we can agree that the traditional Starbucks logo was made to call attention, with that crowned siren-like creature supported by a very green background. In other places in Japan, it still looks like this. But in Kyoto, the brand went above and beyond to respect the new guidelines and produced this beautiful wooden logo and a little plaque that says this building has lattes. Yes, indeed. There are multiple examples like this. In Kyoto, the 7-Eleven doesn't have its traditional red, orange, and green stripes. Its logo was changed to black and white. You can think that's dull, but I think we can agree to disagree. It looks perfect when you look at its surroundings. Oh, and what about McDonald's, the world's most famous burger franchise? It kept its yellow logo, but took the red out of the background. In terms of the color palette allowed, the law uses the Munsell color system to determine which chroma levels are acceptable. Usually, the faded version of strong colors like red, black, green, and so on are accepted. Now, imagine if they adopted a Wes Anderson palette. It would look like a toy city, that's for sure. At first, vendors and shopkeepers felt disturbed by the new law. They didn't understand why they had to change their branding for the sake of some aesthetic the city was trying to preserve. But with time, they not only came to terms with the new law, but could already see the benefits of it for their brand success. You see, this helped turn Kyoto into an even bigger tourist attraction. Tourists felt like they were traveling in time, sort of. Some tourists even like to dress up in traditional kimonos and walk around like geishas. The municipality also began an award system to compensate the shops and brands that had done their homework well. Of course, the camouflage Starbucks won an award back in 2018, as did Sagawa, a major delivery company in Japan, back in 2012. It's not only shops that needed to adjust to the new guidelines. Things such as vending machines and post offices also needed to be toned down. Again, the idea is to make the city more visually coherent, and they sure help. Now, what happens if you don't follow the rules? Well, the people who chose to ignore the landscape law can spend up to 1 year in jail or pay a huge fine. We can also compare the differences inside Kyoto itself. Around the city center, the landscape law is less strict, so you'll find taller buildings and even bigger and more colorful signs. But as you leave the center and move towards smaller cities in the countryside, the law is much more strict. It's especially strict around the UNESCO heritage sites. In case you're not aware, there are 17 heritage sites in Kyoto. Yep, that's a lot. But that's what makes Kyoto so unique. Now, welcome to the neighborhood of Pontulcho. This neighborhood is a good example of how the landscape law changed the city's mood over the years. Pontulcho is a cute alleyway in Kyoto that spans over several blocks. If you look at this Google Street image from 2009 and this one from 2023, you'll see clear differences. For starters, the huge sign at the entrance of the alleyway is gone, and so are the wires hanging from the tops of the shops. The pavement was redone and the big store signs disappeared. It's much cleaner. At night, the alleyway turned into the perfect spot for atmospheric dining, since its legislation decided to rule over the type of lighting allowed in the neighborhood. This is what it looks like at nighttime. Hey, you fancy grabbing some sushi? I can't help thinking that this landscape law contributed a lot to Japan's minimalist architecture. Although images like these ones in Tokyo are far from the idea we have of this minimalist aesthetic, Kyoto falls right into place with it. How about we take a quick look inside one of these establishments? The Starbucks we mentioned earlier also invested in turning its interior design local. It's the first ever Starbucks where you can drink tea on a tatami floor. You can sit cross-legged, like many Japanese people do, and enjoy a delicious hot beverage. I must say I quite like the new Kyoto. How about you?
In some ways, the United States is a whole different world, totally different from every other place. So let's take a look at what's normal there that baffles people from the outside. One of the first things a foreigner notices when entering the country is flags. American flags everywhere. On buildings like schools and houses, and on clothes like shorts, t-shirts, you name it. Throughout history, Americans have changed 27 flags. The current American flag was only adopted in 1960 and is so far the longest-lasting flag of the country. It wasn't created by the authorities, though. In 1958, there was a contest for a design of the new American flag, and the winning flag was made by a 17-year-old high school student from Ohio. The reason why Americans love their flag so much is national pride. But why not so many countries do the same? Well, some countries avoid displaying them for historical reasons. Other countries only raise the flag on special occasions to highlight the importance of the event. Still, some countries display their flag as often as Americans do. In Denmark, people are quite proud of their flag too. They decorate the winter holiday tree and birthday cakes with them, and you can always find stickers with Danish flags, red and white candles, and other goodies with the flag in a grocery store. People in Sweden are also very much into their flag and have flagpoles everywhere. Now, let's go to a restaurant, shall we? Many things there are very specific to the States. Like, for example, tons of ice in every drink. Turns out there is some history to this preference. America has always had a lot of ice as a resource, since New England's lakes and rivers have a lot of those during winter. Centuries ago, before refrigerators and other helpful cooling machines, that kind of cold resource was very valuable, and the States started exporting ice to other parts of the world. And also, of course, consuming it themselves. They started to put ice in their hot drinks, in contrast to the British, who were always drinking their beverages hot. The ice in the drinks has become an American thing, and it was also considered a rich person's drink. Yep, the ice would also show a person's status. Of course, with time, when refrigerators appeared, ice became available to everyone, and Americans started to add it to their drinks commonly. The habit remained, but also, ice drinks are very refreshing, which is especially important in the hot south of the country. But if you come from abroad and don't want your drink freezing cold, always specify it to the waiter. The next striking thing is the huge portions that are served, and there is a reason for that too. It wasn't always like this, but in the second half of the last century, due to pesticides and fertilizers, farmers started to be able to grow more food than they used to. The government caught on, subsidizing them to grow even more food. So, the amount of available food increased. Over time, companies started to increase the sizes of their portions. Why serve less food and get less money if you can serve a bit more and also charge more? That's good for business, and it's a win-win. Customers get more food for just a little bit more money. So, larger portions stuck. Okay, now we need to take a little toilet break. And, surprisingly, there are a lot of foreigners who find American toilets weird. First, what's up with those huge gaps in bathroom stalls? Let's start with the more obvious part, gaps on the bottom of the doors. Those are quite common, even outside the US, and they serve several purposes. First, you can see if there's a person inside without trying to break into an occupied stall. Second, it provides some ventilation and makes it easier to clean the floor in the bathrooms. The gaps on the sides are more questionable. Of course, people on the outside can't see everything going on behind the door, but still, there's not much privacy whatsoever. In most other countries, the gaps are either negligible or non-existent. So what's up with them in America? I did some research. Some sources say that since every inch of material is expensive, wide gaps are made to reduce the costs of bathroom stalls. Other sources say that when people feel exposed like this, they have fewer incentives to do something illegal in public bathrooms. Next observation, American toilets have way more water in their bowls in comparison to, for example, European ones. The reason is that those types of toilets use different flashing systems, and an American one needs more water to flush effectively. In many countries, especially in Asia, most bathrooms have bidets, which are used for after-toilet cleaning, and tourists don't understand why Americans wouldn't adopt those too. After all, if you step in mud, you'll go and wash your foot instead of just wiping it off with a tissue. The same logic works here. Also, it reduces toilet paper usage. So, it's more sustainable and it's environmentally friendly. Some say there's a strong stigma in America around bidets that is extremely hard to overcome. Others say that toilets in the US don't have enough room to install a bidet, so they don't have those, especially if there are other well-known ways. Before we leave the restaurant, we need to tip the waiter. Tipping in the United States is way more common than in most other countries. You're expected to tip any service person who helped you with something. While some kind of tipping exists in some other countries, the extent of it is smaller. And there are also countries like Japan and Denmark where tipping isn't a thing at all. Those countries have minimum wage laws that dictate decent wages employers must pay their workers. This way, the need to pay money to service stuff isn't pushed onto the customers. By the way, here's one more fact about the prices. Probably the craziest thing in the States tourists have to adapt to are prices in stores. The tax isn't included into the displayed price and is added on top while checking out. So people who are short on money can't pre-calculate the price they will have to pay to make sure that they have enough money. But really, why is it so? The main reason behind such a weird policy is transparency. This way, taxpayers know how much tax they pay and can resist raising the tax rate in case it comes on the national agenda. Also, it allows buyers to compare the costs of products across states fairly, since tax rates may differ. So, if the tax isn't included, you compare the actual bread costs between Alabama and Alaska, for example. In some places in America, it's not very easy to get around unless you travel by car. In some regions, there's often no sidewalk taking you to the closest convenience store, or a crosswalk, allowing you to cross the road right in front of the store. The main reason for that is probably the fact that the United States is a big country with vast lands and everything is spread out. Neighborhoods can be scattered around, wide suburban territories quite far away from one another, so that's already far from being walking distance, and sidewalks aren't needed because, yes, no one's walking. Studies show that Spanish or Germans walk at least twice as much as Americans, but in those countries, everything is way closer. And last and not least, you guessed it, the imperial system. It's based on the human body. A foot is an average foot size of a person, so you might think it's quite intuitive for anyone. Well, no. Foreigners are incredibly confused with feet, inches, gallons, and Fahrenheits, and tend to convert it all to the familiar metric system. Well, in this sense, the British are even more confusing. Those guys use both imperial and metric systems. For height, it's mostly feet and inches, but for weight, kilograms. Great Britain used to have the imperial system, but later they were forced to switch to the metric system. So now they're using a combination, whatever helps to be more precise.
Have you ever stopped to think about the thrilling secrets of day-to-day modern life on planet Earth? I'm talking about tiny windows in washing machines and little holes in airplane windows. If you haven't got a clue of what I'm talking about, tag along and allow yourself to be as surprised as I was when I found out. Remember the drawer at the bottom of your oven? Maybe you've been ignoring it all along or using it to store pots and pans. Well, even though it can serve this function, that's not the only thing it's there for. The best way to use the bottom drawer is to keep your meal heated while you're waiting to serve it. Genius, right? Talking about secret doors, have you noticed that most washing machines have little flap doors at the bottom too? These doors actually serve as drain traps. It's where all the items that we put to wash together with our jeans and jackets go to. It's a type of collector, let's say, of small items. It stops them from getting into the main drain pipes and clogging them. It saves us hundreds of dollars in repairs each month. Now, who hasn't gone through the confusing task of having to measure how much pasta to cook for one serving? Well, here's the solution: the holes in the center of pasta spoons. They were actually made for measuring the exact amount of dry pasta you need for one serving. If you try stuffing wet cooked pasta through it, well, good luck with that. On a similar topic, have you ever wondered why pen caps have holes in them? Maybe you thought it was a design feature to regulate air pressure. But in reality, these holes have a much simpler and more important function: to reduce the risk of choking. Now, lots of people love to bite on their caps, and this tiny hole prevents them from choking in case they accidentally swallow a cap and it gets stuck in their throat. For kitchen lovers, there's a hidden secret right in front of your eyes that can change your life. Think pans. Now think handles. Right, They have holes in them. As it turns out, these holes were designed to hold the spoon you're using for cooking. And instead of dripping sauce all over the stove or your kitchen floor, you can place the spoon in the hole and let it drip the sauce directly back into the pan. Woohoo! Speaking of everyday items, and I was, most doorknobs are made of brass because this material makes them naturally germ-free. Unlike plastic ones, brass doorknobs are kind of magical. They can disinfect themselves without you having to clean them. Neat, right? Have you ever noticed that at the bottom of a measuring tape there is a little dip? You can find it in that metallic part you need to pull on to measure something. Well, that dip is actually the exact size of a regular nail. It was designed for people to place the tape on top of a nail and use it as a support while they stretch the tape. Well, I can't wait to try it out for myself. As for the margins in your notebook, they were invented to protect people's notes from mice. No, the mice weren't copying your answers for the math quiz. Actually, there were times when people had to cohabitate with rats and mice that often chewed on paper. So, to prevent information from getting completely lost, people created margins. This way, texts were moved closer to the middle of pages and remained unharmed by rodents. Perhaps this is where to digest information came from. And what about those tiny holes at the bottom of airplane windows? They have an extremely important function of regulating the air pressure inside the cabin. In other words, they help planes fly high up in the sky. Big responsibility, right? By the way, tray tables on an airplane are the germiest places inside the entire cabin. Studies showed that the trays had 8 times the amount of germs on the toilet flush button. Now, how about we cut a commercial airplane in half and see what's inside? Well, it would look more or less like this: rows of seats on top and everything else that needs to be stored at the bottom. I'm talking about passengers' luggage, emergency supplies, parts of the wing system, and so on. Moving on to bowling balls. Yes, I know it's a clumsy transition. Anyway, have you ever wondered what the insides of a bowling ball look like? If you have cut a professional ball in two, you'll see a familiar shape. Look closely. Do you see it? Doesn't that look like the logo of Brightside? Anyway, professional bowling balls are different from the ones in your local bowling alley. That's because they're designed to make fancy moves. They actually have some really complex engineering inside. They're shaped to help skilled professionals get more strikes. The weight of professional bowling balls is designed to be projected inward as they travel down the bowling lane. This makes it harder for them to get into the gutters on the sides of the lane. Speaking of balls, let's take a look inside a baseball. To make it light and aerodynamic, producers use several different layers. Starting from the core, we have a cork center enveloped by black rubber. Then there's a layer of red rubber, followed by 2 or 3 alternating layers of wool yarn. After that, there's a visible white leather cover and that beautiful red seam on the side, stitching it all together. And what if you had X-ray vision and managed to look inside a human bone? Ooh, spooky! I'd say what calls most attention is this spiderweb-like situation at the center of the bone. In reality, it's a highly condensed and complex structure of nerves that you have inside your bones. Aren't you lucky? Now, I've got a riddle for you. What is round, can be found near the ocean, and looks like an aerial view of the Guggenheim Museum in New York City, the one that's made almost entirely of ramps? If you said a nautilus shell, hey, then you guessed right. A nautilus is a shellfish whose house you can find in countless souvenir stores near the beach. It's made up of 2 layers, a matte white outer layer and an iridescent white inner layer. And if you were to cut it in half, it would look very similar to the insides of the Guggenheim Museum. Aloe leaves are good for healing purposes and also for hydration. But if you manage to look inside of an aloe leaf, the image you'd see would be satisfying and very relaxing. Who hasn't dreamed of a pool filled with jelly? Now, there seems to be nothing more mundane and regular than a tube of toothpaste. But you wouldn't think so if you cut open a tube that contains several colors. Now, there have been speculations that the insides of such a toothpaste tube might be divided by barriers so that the stripes don't mix. But if you cut it in half, you'll see that it has only one interior chamber. As it happens, there's a lot of science behind the making of striped toothpaste. According to a specialist, they have to ensure that the paste in all the stripes has the same physical properties. This way, the colors are naturally prevented from mixing with one another. That's why, if you tear a tube open, you'll see something that looks like several slices of pizza in different colors. If you open your closet, you're bound to find at least a few wooden hangers. Usually, they're made of cedar wood, which is a natural moth repellent. So, cedar hangers actually protect your clothes from moth infestation. For some people, more than others, eyeliner is an everyday must. Boy, isn't it. But did you know that back in ancient Egyptian times, both men and women used kohl eyeliners to protect their eyes from the sun's glare? Way to go for the Egyptians for figuring that out. Now, if I could just learn to walk like one. Normally, we use headrests for the purpose of, well, resting our heads, right? Well, not only. As it turns out, headrests can be easily removed from the seats and used to break car windows in case of emergencies. Now, this one is a trick very few people know about. You probably place your doormat horizontally, like most of us do. But doormats serve the purpose of absorbing dirt from the soles of your shoes before you enter your home. So, for this function to work as it's meant to, the best way to place a doormat is vertically. This way, you take more steps on the top of the doormat before entering your house. And last but not least, now I don't want to be accusatory here, but you have probably been vacuuming your house the wrong way, and I can prove it. Most people just vacuum floors and carpets in one direction or move the brush back and forth several times, thinking they've got all the dust out. But according to cleaning professionals, the best way to vacuum is in rows. First, you go forward with the brush until you arrive at the end of the row. Then, you fluff the carpet up and move back down along the same row, gathering the dust that wasn't collected in the first sweep. Talk about efficient cleaning. On the other hand, my idea of house cleaning is to sweep the room with a glance. Hey, I don't want to disturb that protective layer of dust.
When you first see this creature, it may seem to you that this is a flying sapphire. The blue-banded bee is as beautiful as this gem. These flying beetles have turquoise stripes instead of yellow. Their huge green eyes resemble emeralds. And their thin brown wings look like layers of cellophane with engraved patterns. Appearance is not the only thing that distinguishes them from ordinary bees. The blue-banded ones are singles. They don't move in swarms and don't live in large nests. These beetles like settling in small burrows in the soil or crevices in rocks. Another cool difference between our blue guys and ordinary bees is their unique way of pollination. Scientists call it buzz pollination. The blue bee sits on the flower, holds it tightly, and begins to shake the whole body. It creates a series of small, fast vibrations. This way, the bee also shakes the flower, quickly and gently. These movements make the pollen move out of the anther. Then the bee stops and collects all this pollen. Some scientists think these bees prefer pollinating purple flowers. This helps the blue bees blend in with the plant and remain unnoticed by enemies. But this theory hasn't been proved yet. The blue-banded bees mainly inhabit the territory of Australia. They are an important element in the agriculture of this country. These bees work with tomatoes, cranberries, eggplants, blueberries, kiwi, and chili peppers. Ordinary bees can't pollinate most of those plants, but their blue relatives can. On a global scale, more than 8% of plants in the world need to be pollinated through buzz pollination. That's why farmers love and protect blue-banded bees so much. Wasps and bees are very similar in appearance. Sometimes they can be difficult to tell apart, but their lifestyle is totally different. Bees are quiet beetles that spend all their time pollinating plants, collecting nectar from flowers, and making honey. We can say that bees are small, powerful trucks, but wasps are racing supercars. They are more aggressive, much faster, and more maneuverable in the air. Their stings are more painful. Yes, they can also carry pollen from one plant to another and feed on nectar, but their main mission is to control the population of insect pests, such as aphids and some species of caterpillars. According to some estimates, wasps manage to get rid of more than 14,000 tons of insects in the UK alone during one summer. Imagine how much they do all over the world. Wasps are dangerous beetles, but among them, there is one kind that is distinguished by its peaceful nature and lifestyle. This is the mud dauber wasp. It also has a black and yellow coloring, but it looks more elegant. A swarm of regular wasps is controlled by the queen, but mud daubers are solitary creatures. They build a small nest of mud in which they live with their children. A mud dauber will bite only if it's in danger. Unlike other wasps, these insects only use their venom to paralyze spiders, flies, and caterpillars. Then, they bring them to their nest to feed their children. So don't be surprised if you see a large horde of paralyzed spiders inside the nest. There can be more than 500 bugs in one nest. When little wasps hatch from eggs, they immediately begin their feast. The most unfriendly wasp species is the hornet. They are also wasps, but bigger, angrier, and with an even more painful bite. Its bite is one of the most dangerous among all insects. This critter can grow to be the size of a thumb. That's 3 times as large as a regular bee. Hornets attack in a huge swarm and pose a great danger to any animal. To fight them, people wear thick protective suits that resemble spacesuits. But the worst thing is that hornets invade hives and reduce the bee population. This can lead to a catastrophe on a planetary scale, since bees pollinate more than half of all fruits, vegetables, grains, and nuts in the world. Look at this big buzzing bumblebee. There's something wrong with it. It lands on a flower. And wait a minute. This is not a bumblebee at all. It's some kind of green-orange beautiful beetle. Oh, now it takes off and looks like a bumblebee again. Meet the pellucid hawk moth. Thanks to its color and transparent wings, it creates the illusion of a bumblebee. The wings of most insects serve for thermoregulation. They warm their body. Other insects have wings that help them fight enemies. A butterfly manages to look like a large creature, thanks to the pattern on its wings. Some insects communicate using vibrations created by their wings. Colored wings have many different purposes, but the pellucid hawk moth has transparent wings, and their main function is to avoid reflecting sunlight. These fast-moving transparent wings practically don't shine in the light and tone down the color of the beetle. Thanks to this, when the moth is flying, other insects perceive it as a bumblebee and are afraid to attack it. These bumblebee copycats are found in Africa, India, Southeast Asia, and Australia. At the beginning of life, they are bright green caterpillars that feed on coffee and pomegranate leaves. From afar, it may seem that a hamster is sitting on the trunk of a tree, but this is actually the southern flannel moth. It's large and covered with thick fur. Don't try and pet it if you don't want to go to a hospital. There are many poisonous thorns hidden inside this fur coat. Even a light prick can make you experience lots of unpleasant sensations. Other insects that pretend to be bees and wasps are hoverflies. They look like wasps, fly like wasps, and imitate a wasp's sting. But their coolest ability is copying bee buzzing. In reality, though, hoverflies are fragile, harmless creatures. Their ability to transform into bees is essential for their survival, and it works great. Many animals and insects are afraid to approach these skillful actors. But in the entire animal world, lyrebirds get the title of the most talented imitators. These small birds, with large, beautiful tails resembling a lyre, live in Australia. Imagine getting lost in a forest far away from a big city. Suddenly, you hear the sound of a chainsaw. You don't see people, but the sound is getting closer. Then you hear the clicking of a camera shutter. but there are no people with cameras around. Lyrebirds create all these sounds. Thanks to all the complex muscles of their syrinx, they can mimic the sound of almost anything. Some people heard these birds imitating human speech. Also, they are good forest designers. Female lyrebirds build domed nests on the ground, in stumps and caves. They usually lay one egg there and take care of the baby for the first 6 to 10 weeks. Let's go down from the sky to the ocean to see other tiny creatures. Meet blue-ringed octopus. This little guy looks so small and cute. Its bright neon color and blue rings are visible from afar. The octopus can easily fit in your palm, but it's better not to touch it. Meeting a great white shark may not be as dangerous as encountering this tiny creature. It's one of the most treacherous sea inhabitants in the world because of its venom. One bite can knock down a huge African elephant. The octopus is much more dangerous than a king cobra or a black widow spider because its bite often goes unnoticed. You may not feel or see when it stings you, and when you realize that something is wrong, it may be too late. Also, there's no antidote to the blue-ringed octopus's venom. The creature's salivary glands are home to bacteria that produce this venom. The same substance is found in the venom of pufferfish. When it enters the human body, it paralyzes the entire nervous system. The lungs stop contracting to supply the body with oxygen. The only good news is that this octopus is unlikely to attack first. The last recorded case when this creature charged at people was in the 60s. The blue-ringed octopus lives in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, from the coast of Japan to Australia. They spend most of their time in tide pools and coral reefs. Now we move to the hot sands of the southeastern U.S. states. You can find fire ants here. Outwardly, they don't differ much from regular bugs. But people call them fire ants because of their bite. Their poison resembles a flame. You're likely to feel the bite site burning. Therefore, it's better not to touch them and go away before any of these ants crawl into your pants.
Trains used to make people mad. During the Victorian era, there was this rumor that the swaying motion of train carriages made passengers, especially men, go a bit crazy, leading to some strange and dangerous behavior. The so-called railway madness was supposedly triggered by the noise of the train. To make things worse, carriages were locked for privacy reasons back then, so people found themselves stuck in tiny spaces with lunatics who could snap at any moment. If you see someone putting ketchup on some car, it doesn't mean you're witnessing them preparing a prank. It means they're just taking care of their car. Yup, it goes great with hamburgers and hot dogs, but it goes even better with cars since it has ingredients that are good at removing rust. Rust occurs when the metal gets exposed to moisture, oxygen, and heat, and due to weather conditions, it's hard to avoid it. When you leave rust for a longer time and don't deal with it, it will continue to degrade the metal. So, you need to get rid of it before your car becomes physically useless. That's when ketchup comes in. Its key ingredient is tomatoes, and they have many nutrients similar to those you can find in oranges and some other citrus fruits. For instance, citric acid can help you remove rust from metal surfaces since it eats through rust. We're not talking about the cars only. You can use it on metallic kitchenwares, furniture parts, jewelry, and rust spots on generally any metallic item. You can combine it with washing soda. It's not quite effective against rust, but when you combine it with ketchup, it'll do the work. Mix these two and apply them to the rusted area. Leave it like that for about half an hour and wash it with a wet cloth or sponge. You can combine ketchup with salt instead, or just apply a lot of it on the rusty area without using any additional ingredients. Ketchup removes tarnish from brass copper too. Put it on brass hardware on doors and cabinets, or some accessories such as bowls and candlesticks for 10 minutes to make it all shine. And also, you don't put it on meat just because of taste. Ketchup breaks down its fibers, which means it makes it more tender. Locking handles as we know them were only invented relatively recently, in 1878. Before that, people had to get pretty inventive to secure their homes. Most folks used a latch string. They'd make a small hole in the door, thread a leather thong or string through it, and then loop it around a wooden bar. Even after doorknobs were invented, only the wealthy could afford a proper lock and key. Vacuum cleaners had a rough start too. The first one was invented in 1901, but it was so huge that it wouldn't fit inside houses. Instead, vacuuming was offered as a mobile service. The machines were parked outside, and long hoses were fed through the windows. And to get to the client's house, these large cleaning machines were actually pulled by horses. Back in the day, animals even used to pull strollers. Yep, with kids inside. The stroller was first developed in 1733 for the daughters and sons of a British nobleman who might have been a bit too lazy to walk with them every day. So, the first model was basically a shell-shaped basket on wheels that could be pulled by a goat or a small pony. This small chariot was cute, but probably not the safest way to get around. Refrigerators also used to be a bit scary. From the late 1800s until 1929, they used toxic gases like ammonia, methyl chloride, and sulfur dioxide to cool things down. People were so concerned about gas leaks that they began leaving their refrigerators in the backyard instead of keeping them in the kitchen. This danger even inspired Albert Einstein to create a new model. In 1926, Einstein and his former student Leo Szilard invented a refrigerator with no moving parts, using safer, environmentally friendly gases to reduce the risk of toxic leaks. But it had one problem. Einstein's refrigerator was less efficient than existing appliances, so it wasn't commercially appealing. If you ever find yourself casually wandering in the forests of Estonia, don't freak out if you see some giant megaphones. These wooden, acoustic giants were set 3 hours away from the country's capital by interior architecture students. That's way cooler than the hamster roller coaster I once built for a science fair, I have to admit. More than half of Estonia is covered by woods, and they're pretty proud of this natural wealth. So it's not the first art project of this kind, and there was a winding, elevated pathway and a faceted woodland cabin. The idea of the megaphones is to crank up the natural sounds of a forest and also to serve as a rest spot for hikers. These wooden beauties are large enough to host several people. And hey, if you walk this far into the woodland, you'll be thankful for this. The students were given a task to invent some concepts of a forest library. They built the megaphones off-site and brought them to their permanent spots. They're set in such a way that sounds from 3 directions meet in the center and create a cool, natural surround sound effect. Thankfully, kitchen supplies, including our beloved grills, have come a long way. Back in the 1950s, a metalworker named George Stephen had a brilliant idea while trying to create the perfect steak. Frustrated with flare-ups and uneven cooking, he decided to cut an old ocean buoy in half. This allowed him to control the airflow better. And that's how the Weber Kettle Grill was born, changing backyard barbecues forever. Have you ever used a public bathroom in the summer in your shorts and sandals and got splashed? It happens to the best of us, so no worries. If only there was some solution to this problem. Perhaps a urinal with a small hole so no liquid goes where it shouldn't. Looks pretty yucky and painful to me. An assistant professor at the University of Waterloo, Zhao Pen, and his colleagues came up with a way better solution for this sensitive issue. Their designs were inspired by physics and dogs. When a stream of liquid moves on a solid surface at a shallow angle, the splash is reduced, and the smaller the angle, the fewer splashes you'll see. You can even minimize them to a 0. And when dogs do their business, they lift their hind legs and do it on the vertical surface of a tree or a wall. I don't know if they actually care about it, but this does reduce the splash. Good job, Pluto. Talking about that, here's a fun challenge for your next family gathering. Ask everyone to fold a piece of paper in half, then in half again, and keep going for a total of 7 folds. Spoiler alert, they probably won't succeed. That's because each fold makes the paper thicker and thicker. In fact, if you had a huge sheet of paper and folded it in half 50 times, it would end up being about 62 million miles thick, which is about 2/3 of the way from Earth to the Sun. So yeah, it's impossible. The current record is held by a high school student named Brittany Gallivan, who managed to fold a single piece of paper in half 12 times, and it was a tissue paper. The USB symbol, looking like a trident, has always sparked multiple speculations about its origin. One popular idea is that it represents Neptune's trident and symbolizes power and adaptability. But there's also a little bit less exciting theory. A man who claimed to have designed the symbol in the 1980s stated that it was supposed to represent connectivity. The large circle symbolizes a computer, while the attached shapes, the circle, the triangle, and square, stand for different outputs. Look closely at a tram's overhead lines, and you'll see that its contact wires zigzag back and forth instead of going in a straight line. That's because all trams have pantographs attached to their roofs. The upper part of the pantograph is gradually worn down by the overhead wire and eventually needs to be replaced. To wear it down evenly, the wire is not installed strictly along the tram's path, but in zigzag patterns. As the tram moves, the pantograph slides along the wire, and it wears down evenly. Those cone-shaped water cooler cups? Their shape is intentionally designed to prevent users from setting the cups down. This allows employees to minimize the risk of spilling water on their desks around various electronic devices. Plus, less material is used to produce cone-shaped cups, which makes the process less wasteful and more cost-effective. It also kinda supports sustainability by encouraging people to drink their water quickly and dispose of their cups immediately after. You're probably wearing a YKK product right now. I mean, go check the zipper on your jeans. Yep, that's it. YKK stands for Yoshida Kogyo Kabushiki Kaisha, a Japanese company that makes roughly half of all the zippers in the world, producing over 7 billion zippers each year. Originally called hookless fasteners, they became known as zippers after a pair of rubber boots that could be fastened with a single zip became popular in 1923. The name stuck because of the high-pitched zip sound they make when used. Despite a popular myth, household batteries don't actually contain liquid, and if you accidentally cut them open, no toxic liquid will spill. Most of them are dry cell batteries, which are made of electrochemical cells. Those convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Larger batteries often house numerous small cells within them too. Even Tesla vehicle batteries consist of multiple small cells. When combined, they easily provide the necessary voltage. Did you know that nail polish used to be a status symbol? In ancient Egypt, queens like Nefertiti and Cleopatra were famous for their red nails, while lower-ranking citizens were only allowed to wear pale shades. You'll probably agree that there's no better snack than a pack of chips. Some are flat, others have ridges. Is it just aesthetics? Not really. The main purpose of those lines on some kinds of chips is to help with the distribution of spices and seasonings. In other words, all those substances that make your chips taste like cheese are mostly stored inside the lines. Plus, the lines make chips crunchier. This item here was also popular in ancient Egypt. What looks like a weird bench was actually a weird type of pillow. Back then, headrests were made from materials like wood, ceramic, and stone. Unlike our comfy pillows today, those ancient ones were used to protect people's hairstyles. That way, their hairdos stayed neat, even though they had a very uncomfortable night. If you've left a pot on the stove and your food burned, once again, take ketchup. Its acids will ease all the scrubbing and help you with grease. Just leave it over the night and you'll be able to wash the pot more easily. Or keep those small packages of ketchup we all end up having from fast food orders in the freezer. The ketchup won't be as hard as an ice cube as it freezes. So it will be good for soothing insect bites or similar things. For 8 centuries, forks were considered cursed and nearly forbidden in the West. The first models were used by the elite in the Middle East and the Byzantine Empire, and they made their way to the West in 1004, thanks to a noblewoman named Maria Argyropoulina. People were pretty shocked by it, to say the least. So when she passed away just 2 years later, everyone blamed the fork, thinking it was some kind of divine punishment. By the way, its name comes from the Latin word furca, which means pitchfork. Next on our list is Nike's iconic Moon shoe, but I'm talking about the unique pattern of its sole. Back in the 1970s, Nike co-founder Bill Bowerman was making waffles for breakfast with his wife when he had a sudden idea to pour a plastic material called polyurethane into the waffle iron. The machine was ruined, of course, but I guess it was worth it since that's how the first Nike waffle trainer was born. I mean, its sole. That clear fluid in gel pens is called the ink follower or stopper fluid. The gel in such pens contains pigment particles dissolved in a polymer solution. The main task of the stopper fluid is to be a barrier to prevent the gel from evaporating or leaking out. Without this transparent fluid, your gel pen wouldn't function. The fluid always stays in one position and doesn't get dissolved with the gel. Neither does it move backwards or flow out of the pen. Let's move on to another favorite snack, popcorn. These days, cinema and popcorn go hand in hand, but it wasn't always this way. In the 1920s and 1930s, movie theater owners were hesitant to allow snacks in their theaters. They were worried about the mess and the crunching noises interfering with movies. Plus, popcorn used to cost only 5 to 10 cents, so they didn't see any financial benefit. But savvy street vendors saw a big chance. So, they got their own popcorn machines and started selling them outside theaters. That's why popcorn probably became the original clandestine movie snack, and theater staff would even have to check if people were hiding bags of it in their coats. Have you ever helped your friends move into a new apartment in a building without an elevator? Then you're gonna love this one. Houses in Amsterdam have hooks on top. This is a medieval invention for pulling stuff up the houses. The simple tech consisting of a wheel and a rope still functions now, centuries later. Why not just use the stairs? Well, if you get inside one of those narrow Amsterdam buildings, you'll see there's hardly enough room to comfortably ascend, and you can forget about even trying to pull a table on top. Back in the medieval ages, pretty much like now, only rich people could afford housing around the canals in the best parts of the city. Those people were mostly traders and used the canals for their business. They stored goods in the same houses they lived in, and with regular floods, they had to find a way to keep the goods dry. And that's why they needed to invent something to lift furniture, goods, boxes, instruments, and food on the upper floors, and pull it in through fully open, wide windows. The lifting tech is one of the reasons the houses in Amsterdam are leaning forward. This position helped keep both the lifted stuff and the walls and windows safe during transportation. They didn't have to touch each other. The gables also assisted in the process and had to be made firm to withstand all the heavy weight. And in case you're wondering what gables are, they're sections of wall between the edges of a dual-pitched roof, typical for Amsterdam. Sticking with old-school fun, it's time to talk about cards. So, have you ever wondered how many times you need to riffle a deck to shuffle it completely? The answer is 7 times, according to math. Even cooler, if you shuffle a deck right, you're probably creating a unique order that's never existed before and never will again. And if you have a deck at hand, check out the 4 Kings. You'll notice that the King of Hearts is the only one without a mustache. He's not special or anything. I mean, he also used to have a mustache, but it was lost in the reproduction of the original design. Your home has more regular things that can do magic tricks. Like if you have a house or a big terrace and want to make a nice flower wall. Try old mattress springs. Just hang them on the wall and let your imagination run wild with flowers. An old flower sifter can still come in handy, for example, as a planter. Even if you don't have one, you might find it at a garage sale or a thrift store. Wallpaper is making its big comeback when it comes to home design. Maybe you can try something different and use some old books with torn pages. You just need to learn the basics of hanging wallpaper, and voila! You get a new cool place for your old books. There's a solution for the remains of an old book. Don't worry, you can have blocks where you'll keep your kitchen knives. It's pretty original, don't you think? Solitaire was probably everyone's go-to game to pass the time back in the 1990s, but its original purpose was far from it. When developers created this game, their idea was to teach people how to use a computer without them even realizing it. For example, dragging and dropping cards into one place helped people learn how to move files into folders. The same goes for Minesweeper, which was designed to help people get used to using a mouse and clicking. Cleaning blinds can be frustrating, but the next time you do it, try doing it with a sock over your hand. Hands are kind of perfectly shaped for getting all those nooks and crannies on the blinds, and the sock will do the rest. Here's something you wouldn't expect. Ice cubes can help you remove gum from carpet, clothing, and hair. Just put your clothes in the sink and add ice cubes. Leave it like that for a while. Ice will freeze the gum, so you can chip it away more easily. If the gum got stuck on the carpet, leave ice cubes right in the critical spot and remove the gum with a butter knife. It's a little bit harder to remove it from hair though, but still possible. Just wrap the ice and parts of your hair with the gum in a washcloth until the gum gets frozen. When you get there, you should be able to break apart the gum and free your hair using your fingers. Or, next time you have to deal with a splinter, just take one ice cube to numb that area before you even start doing anything. You might have noticed that movie theater seats are almost always red. This choice isn't random. It has strategic importance, which is rooted in visual science. The thing is, red light has a longer wavelength. It means that it's the first color to disappear in low light. It allows the audience to concentrate better on the screen once the movie begins. Such a design choice enhances the viewing experience by minimizing distractions. Speed bumps are crucial for pedestrian safety, but at the same time, they can seriously increase car emissions due to the non-stop acceleration and deceleration they cause. To address this issue, some cities like London are testing fake speed bumps. Those are optical illusions painted on the road. They look raised from a driver's perspective, but in reality, they're flat. Authorities hope that this approach will slow down drivers without having a negative impact on the environment. Soda bottles are always filled in such a way that there's some space between the liquid and the cap. That's because soda contains carbon dioxide. It's a gas that can expand once the bottle's heated. If there's no gap in the bottle, it can break because of the pressure building inside. Also, when you open your drink, the gases go out in the form of bubbles, making the drink overflow. The gap helps with this problem too. If you're more into Angry Birds, Candy Crush, and other mobile games, that's totally normal. After all, more people have access to cell phones than to toilets these days. But not many of us stop to think about how disgusting our phones can be. The natural bacteria from our skin and the oils from our hands get transferred to our phones with every touch, swipe, and tap. This makes phones about 10 times dirtier than toilet seats. Yikes! If you're planning a trip across the Atlantic, you should prepare for more than just the jet lag. Depending on where you land, life in Europe can seem a bit unusual. So it's best to do a bit of research before you travel. Speaking of quirky little differences, one of the first things you may notice is the lack of AC. Hope you like fresh air because central air conditioning isn't everywhere like you might be used to. In Europe, you might find that someone's flat, office, or even a full restaurant doesn't have an AC unit. That's because some Europeans rely solely on their windows to get a breeze. However, bigger places like grocery stores and malls usually keep things well ventilated. Water in European restaurants is not always free either, even though this is common practice in the US. Sure, you'll get a fancy glass bottle at most places, but you'll also see it on your bill. More so, if you ask for water, be sure to specify if you'd like it still, because you might get sparkling water instead. Forget about getting a glass full of ice water too. You might get cold water from the fridge, but Europeans don't do the whole tons of ice thing like they do in the US. If you enjoy sightseeing on a budget, you know how helpful those public toilets can be. After walking for hours, it's great to stumble upon a bathroom where you can freshen up a bit. Well, you better have the equivalent of 50 cents or so in your pocket, because in many European countries, you've got to pay to use these public restrooms. Even fast food restaurants might charge you for the privilege. The best workaround is to head to a mall. Their restrooms are usually free. Also, in the US, bathroom stalls often have a gap at the bottom. Some say this design was chosen for cleaning purposes and accessibility. In Europe, however, stalls tend to reach the floor for more privacy. Name days are also kind of a big deal in Europe, despite not being so popular in the US. Each day of the year is like a mini birthday celebration for someone with a specific name. Europeans who follow this tradition see it as a second birthday, and even some take it more seriously than their actual birthday. Even the way we perceive things can be totally different depending on where you're from. Take a 100-year-old building in Europe that's practically brand new, but in the US, it's considered old. Depending on who you ask, some Americans might even consider an object that is 200 years old to be ancient. Europeans reserve this word for something that comes from a time before the Middle Ages. However, when it comes to distances, it's quite the opposite. Europeans might find driving 100 kilometers, or about 60 miles, to be a lot, while for Americans, that's a short trip. It does make sense if you think about it, though, because Europe is way more crowded. In fact, the entire European Union is only about half the size of the US. Either way, Europeans are always on the move, whether it's inside their continent or jetting off somewhere else on the planet. It's probably because most European countries are so small by comparison that people grow up thinking it's normal and easy to cross borders all the time. Even the appliances tend to be different when comparing the two regions. Take washing machines, for instance. In Europe, most of them only hook up to cold water, and they load from the front. In the US, it's common to have machines that use both hot and cold water and load from the top. On that note, make sure to research the type of electrical plug used in your European country of choice before traveling. You might find you'll need special adapters to be able to use your phone charger or curling iron while on holiday. Thankfully, most hotels are prepared for these issues and can offer adapters on demand, free of charge. Fridges might seem a bit different too. That's because tiny ones are the norm in Europe, except for large families who invest in bigger fridges and freezers. It's not all bad, especially if you enjoy sharing groceries with roommates, less food wastage, and more frequent trips to the store for fresh food. Might also want to polish your metric system knowledge before heading to Europe too. Everyone there is using meters, grams, liters, and Celsius. Sure, people in the US might learn the metric system in school, but they stick to the other system for their everyday lives, with yards, miles, pounds, and Fahrenheit. Make sure you also double-check dates and times before making any reservations. Europeans write their dates like day, month, year, while Americans flip it to month, day, year. Also, in the US, the week usually begins on Sunday and wraps up on Saturday. But in Europe, it starts on Monday and ends on Sunday. Be on the lookout for the different time format too. In some countries, if someone says it's 14, that translates to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Even advertising might seem a bit different when you first land in Europe. In the US, you might see people wandering around in inflatable costumes on the street to promote local business, but that's a rare sight in Europe. Also, those massive billboard signs you often see along American highways aren't available in most European countries. They're usually against the law because it's believed that drivers should be focused more on the road ahead. And such advertising techniques can be too distracting. Moving on to street names and shopping hours. In North America, especially the USA, it's common to name streets with numbers, like 5th Avenue or 16th Street. But if you head over to Europe, you'll find that streets usually have actual names. In some really rural spots in Europe, you might even stumble upon roads with no names at all. In Europe, there's also a cool tradition of naming roads that connect cities after the city they lead to. Shopping hours in Europe can be a bit confusing too, at times even frustrating. You've probably heard of the siesta in Spain, with some Mediterranean countries having similar customs. It's when shops and businesses take a little afternoon break. Smaller venues in European cities might close up for lunch breaks or have shorter hours on weekends. Some might even stay shut altogether on specific days. It's best to check out the local schedule if you're planning some retail therapy while traveling in Europe. Those shopping hours can really affect your plans and how easily you can get your hands on the stuff you need. While Americans tend to smile more, even to strangers, it can seem a bit unusual to people from other countries. There's a reason behind it though. You see, over the years, the US became this melting pot with people coming in from all over the globe. Being friendly and agreeable became crucial to bridge the gaps created by different cultures and languages. Sometimes it's more helpful to be nice than to be brutally honest. TV watching preferences can also seem different in Europe. Take Norway, for example, where you'll find this cool concept called slow TV. You know how we sometimes zone out in front of a show for hours? Well, Norwegians have turned that into a national sport, if you'd like. Think of it as the visual equivalent of background music. None of us get glued to the screen watching hours of wood burning or knitting marathons. But you might want to check it out when you need some background entertainment that doesn't demand your full attention. Speaking of taking things slow, you might have also heard about a concept called hygge. It's this whole way of life up in the Nordic European countries. Some think these life principles could be the secret to happiness. It's about creating a life that's free from annoying or overwhelming stuff. It's also about prioritizing your relationships and striving to always have a positive attitude.
You know how they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do? Meaning, in Rome, you need to make sure your goldfish has a deluxe bowl to live in. In Nigeria, don't you dare to bring your own wheelbarrow. And perish the thought of adding as much mayo as you want to your dish when you're in France. Yep, bans around the world may be surprising, to say the least. Number 1. You will never see a good old doorknob in Vancouver, Canada. Some time ago, the city changed its building code to require the use of cool and sleek door levers instead. This change is all about making buildings more accessible and easier to use. Not only new buildings are getting a new makeover, even Vancouver's historic City Hall had its fancy Art Deco doorknobs replaced with shiny gold levers. But it's not that you can't legally have it in your house. There isn't a team of doorknob police coming to your house to confiscate your knobs. You can keep them as long as you like. Number 2 comes with a GeoGuessr tip for y'all. If you see this chair in the picture, it means it's 100% not in Basel, Switzerland. It's called a monoblock chair, and it's special. You see, most objects give away clues about when and where they're from, like the shape of electrical outlets or the labels on your shampoo bottle. But the monoblock is context-free. Some people call them one of the world's most perfectly designed objects, while others say the homogeneous nature of the chair is disturbing and the real evil of globalization. But why is it banned in Basel? Turns out the authorities just want the city to be pretty, and the chair design isn't to their liking. Right, if you want to keep one in your backyard, feel free. But they've been a big no in public spaces since 2008. 3. If you were ever thinking of bringing a wheelbarrow to Nigeria, I've got some news for you. Don't even try. Should you need it for some reason during your stay in Nigeria, just buy one there when you arrive. The authorities won't let you bring your imported wheelbarrow across the border. Why? Well, they're all about supporting their own manufacturing industry, so they want to give their local wheelbarrow makers a chance to shine. At number 4, we've got China, where the authorities decided to put a stop to time travel. Wait a minute, it's not what you think. No time travel machine has been invented. The ban is on TV shows and movies. By the way, it's not something new. The law was introduced in the early 2010s. Apparently, the big shots in charge want to keep things real and are not too keen on distorting historical events. They say some scripts are getting a bit too wild, making up myths, promoting superstition, and disrespecting the country's past. 5. Coffee pods. They've become super popular because they make brewing coffee so easy. But Hamburg, Germany doesn't seem to be a fan of those pods. Around 8 years ago, they took a stand by banning plastic coffee pods from authorities' offices. These little pods are made of various materials, making recycling a real challenge. While it's true that these coffee capsules can create a lot of problems, they're still loved by many. In fact, they've become a big hit in the US and Europe, making up a chunk of the coffee market. Hamburg is hoping to lead the way in showing people just how wasteful these pods really are. Number 6. Chewing gum. It has been banned in Singapore since 1992. The ban was put in place to stop people from sticking gum in all sorts of weird places, like subway doors, lock cylinders, and elevator buttons. Yuck. But costly train shenanigans were the last straw for the authorities. The ban was put in place after some serious gum incidents on the Mass Rapid Transit or MRT trains in the late 80s. Some mischievous or mischievous pranksters have been gumming up the works on MRT trains by sticking chewing gum on the door sensors. That caused a sticky situation and messed up train services. And there you have it, chewing gum got completely banned. Now, just a note here, yep, these are gums prescribed for therapeutic or dental reasons. And yep, they're still allowed. Also, don't get this whole ban wrong. It's not illegal to chew gum in Singapore. So if you come there as a tourist, you can bring in a little gum for personal use if you're traveling. Just do not stick it under this nice park bench, okay? What will create you a ton of troubles, though, is importing and selling chewing gum. Iceland is number 7 in our ban hit parade. Back in 1994, Reykjavik was like, no dogs allowed. It wasn't because they were all about cats, it was to stop this nasty tapeworm from spreading. The disease was serious business, causing all sorts of health problems. But don't worry, dogs are cool now as long as they follow the rules. Nowadays in Reykjavik, it's all about the cats. They're everywhere, roaming the streets like they, own the place. You can't walk 2 steps without seeing a furry little friend begging for attention. These Reykjavik kitties are so popular that they even have their own Facebook page. People love them, and some even carry around treats just in case they come across a friendly feline. And since there aren't many threats to cats in Iceland, they're thriving. 8. The Philippines. Now this one is really weird. Singing My Way in karaoke bars is sort of banned in this country. This seemingly harmless song has been linked to some pretty serious consequences, like fistfights and even people's early demise. No one knows the exact number of lethal cases caused by this song, but there have been at least a handful of incidents in the last 10 years. The song's lyrics, which can come off as a bit arrogant and prideful, seem to rile people up when sung in a not-so-great way. This has led some karaoke bars to unofficially ban the song to prevent any craziness from breaking out. 9. Hey, have you heard about Japan's Metabo law? It's all about measuring waist sizes to tackle obesity. It was introduced in 2008, and the idea was that if companies and local authorities didn't meet the goals, they would face financial penalties. The Ministry of Health believed this campaign would help prevent various health conditions. So, every year, people aged 40 to 75 had to get their waist measured. Employers and local authorities needed to make sure at least 65% of people participated. The goal was to reduce Japan's obesity rates by 25% by 2015, and if they hadn't made it, they would have gotten slapped with a fine. Did it work? Well, in 2024, there are only 4.5% of people who reportedly have weight issues in Japan. Number 10, and we're back to Canada. So if you catch someone in there counting out pennies in line, you can totally have some fun with them, legally speaking, of course. According to the Canadian Currency Act, there's a limit to the number of pennies you can use in a transaction, 25 to be exact. So, if someone tries using 26 coins, you can play sheriff and send them to coin jail. Snatch up their pennies as evidence. Yeah. 11. And a condiment-regulated country here. Apparently, in France, they're cracking down on condiments in public schools. They're trying to make meals healthier for students. The rule is that you can't just go crazy with mayo, ketchup, and vinaigrette anymore. They have to be served according to the dish. Finally, Italy. In Rome, you can't keep your goldfish in a boring old glass bowl. Nope, that's considered cruel, because those little guys need their oxygen flow. Plus, if you keep them in a bowl for too long, they might go blind. Also, you can't give away goldfish as prizes. The law has a whole subsection about it. So if you're planning on bringing a goldfish home from your next trip to Rome, make sure you've got a fancy tank ready for them. And thank you for watching. Has your trusty phone ever let you down? More times than you can count? It always seems to run out of juice at the worst possible moment. You forget to top it off, or you end up in an area with no service. And let's not forget how useless it can be in an emergency, like during a tornado when there's no signal. But fear not, there's a cool project called Meshtastic that uses a wireless protocol to keep you connected with your friends. It's like magic, using a radio band called LoRa for encrypted messages. It works in literally any external conditions. Plus, each device can act as a repeater to extend the range of your messages. Perfect for disaster recovery or just keeping tabs on your kids. For less than $25, you can get a starter kit to join the Meshtastic fun. Add a GPS module and a battery and you've got your own private channel. No more stressing when your kids are out and about. You can instantly see where they are. And if you're feeling daring, you can even send low bitrate audio through the airwaves. Now, I'll bet there's a bunch of things your car just can't do. Can it lean into corners? Yeah, I don't think so. What about adjusting its own width to park easier? I know your answer is no, but let me show you something then. This cutie is called Trigo EV, and even though it looks like a futuristic stroller, it's actually a fully functional quadricycle you can totally drive. It was initially created for delivery and car-sharing purposes, but it turned out cooler and way more comfy than expected. If you ever find yourself driving this electric, let's call it a car, shall we? You won't need anything else but a tiny patch of land to park it. It has a maximum speed of 56 miles per hour. Not bad for such a tiny car. In cruise driving mode, it measures 58 inches wide, but a mechanism allows the front wheels to retract toward the chassis, reducing the width to 34 inches. The electric four-wheeler weighs slightly over 1,000 pounds, with a total permissible mass of around 1,600 pounds. Right, it all looks futuristic and fun, but I feel safer in good old SUVs. Ever wished you had an extra arm to help you out when your hands are full? Scientists have figured out how to control a robotic third arm using just your diaphragm muscle. It's as easy as pie, if pie is easy. This awesome discovery was made in Switzerland as part of the super cool Third Arm Project. They had volunteers wearing exoskeleton arms and a sensor belt to track their diaphragm movements, all while navigating a virtual world in VR. After over 150 sessions with 61 volunteers, most people found it a breeze to control 3 arms at once. They could even multitask, chatting and looking around while using the third arm. Now recently, a new fully autonomous delivery service with fast food joints was launched. This means no people involved from pickup to drop-off. It's called Flytrex, and it's been delivering using drones since 2017, teaming up with big names in retail and food to bring you quick and cheap deliveries. They're currently flying high in North Carolina and Texas, with plans to expand nationwide. Their goal is to make deliveries faster and cheaper using their trusty drones. Your order could be at your door in as little as 5 minutes after it's ready. Now, that's speedy. Flytrex got a huge increase in customers and even FAA approval for long-range drone deliveries in 2023. Partnering with big brands like Unilever and Papa John's, they're definitely on a roll. More a pizza roll. The Monocab Owl project is all about making a super cool monorail vehicle for getting around in rural areas sustainably. The Monocab is a clever little autonomous monorail vehicle that can balance itself on a regular rail without any extra support. Its slim design allows it to zip along single-track lines in both directions, perfect for some unique rail mobility ideas. It's like a fun service-on-demand option that's way more exciting than your usual transportation choices, especially for reviving old railway lines in rural areas. Everyone on the Monocab Owl team is stoked about shaking things up in rural mobility. Right now, there's a lack of good, eco-friendly and budget-friendly options for getting around in less populated areas. Reactivating old railway lines is a great start, but we need some fresh ideas to really make it work. That's where these small, self-driving rail vehicles come in. They bring together the best of rail travel with on-demand booking and a cool digital navigation system. Look here! Can you identify what this weird-looking object is? It's a mobile solar container with foldable solar panels for green energy on the go. Just pop out the panels, unfold them, and you're good to power up equipment and properties with green energy wherever you are. The solar container can extend up to almost 400 feet in length when fully unfolded and has 240 solar panels. It's perfect for both on- and off-grid uses, like rescue missions and outdoor events. And it only takes about 5 hours to set up. Easy peasy. There's even an automatic conveyor system for easy folding and unfolding of the panels. Just push a button and start harnessing solar power. SolarKant, the Austrian company that invented it, estimates this mobile solar container can power around 32 households. Virtual meetings are all the rage nowadays. Remote chats are cool, but let's be real, they're no match for face-to-face meetings. We can see each other, hear each other, but it's still pretty flat and 2D. Or, shall I say it was flat? The thing is, HoloBox from HoloConnects is bringing holograms to life. This super cool device lets you project a life-size hologram of yourself or anyone else inside a funky box. Just plug it in, connect it to the internet, and voila! You've got a hologram ready to go. You can even connect multiple boxes to showcase big stuff like cars or anything else. Now, holograms are a massive game changer for remote communication. Imagine chatting with someone and seeing them in 3D like they're right there with you. Plus, it adds a personal touch to presentations, training sessions, ads, you name it. What do you think? Does this look cool or creepy? Check out the latest creation from a rockstar team of engineers at NASA Ames Research Center and KBR, a robot system that can autonomously build structures using lattice blocks. Their paper in Science Robotics explains how these robots and blocks work together to create amazing things. Designed for future lunar missions, these robots can lay down foundations for shelters before astronauts arrive. 3 robots work together to carry and connect blocks with twisty edges, similar to assembling IKEA furniture. They have already built impressive structures, like a shelter made of 256 blocks in just over 4 days. Imagine what they could do on the moon. Experience the interactive pearl sculpture by Breakfast. No food implied, just the name of the company. It's placed on a huge cruise ship called the Icon of the Seas. The stunning creation imitates the ocean's vibes, with rolling waves and shooting stars, each tile placed in a neat Fibonacci sequence. Using real-time data from the Caribbean, this sculpture changes constantly to match the current weather and tides, bringing the ocean to life before your eyes. Yeah, this invention won't change your life, but it's meant to nurture your soul. Have you heard about the Seattle-based startup Jetoptera? They're developing innovative vertical takeoff and landing vehicles with bladeless propulsion systems, promising a future of quiet, safe, and fast urban flight. By 2050, 70% of the population will be living in cities, leading to crowded streets. But Jetoptera's fluidic propulsion system offers a solution, using air pressure technology for silent operation. Jetoptera is also working on a high-speed VTOL for the U.S. Air Force, with plans for passenger-carrying prototypes by 2026. Well, that's exciting.
Some men wear shoes with hidden heel lifts to look taller. Such shoes can make a person up to 6 inches taller. They look like regular shoes, but inside they have this extra insert. Sometimes, such an insert is glued down. Sometimes it's removable, and you can choose the height you need yourself. When the Titanic hit the iceberg and sank sometime later, the Atlantic Ocean was around 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which means the water was below its freezing point. No wonder so many passengers didn't make it. Some birds have a row of bristles protruding from the edges of their eyelids. Those bristles can probably be called eyelashes, but while human eyelashes are modified hairs meant to protect the eye, bird eyelashes are modified feathers. Identical twins don't actually have the same fingerprints, so you can't blame your misdeeds on your sibling after all. Different factors during development in the womb, like the position of the womb, umbilical cord length, and the rate of finger growth, impact fingerprints. Earth's rotation speed is changing. It's slowing down right now while we're talking. It means that, on average, the length of the day gets 1.8 seconds longer every century. 600 million years ago, a day lasted a mere 21 hours. Most world maps are wrong. On the majority of maps, they still use the Mercator projection, which was the first developed in 1569. But this method is very inaccurate and makes Alaska look as large as Brazil, while in reality, it's 5 times smaller. As for Greenland, it looks 14 times larger than it actually is. For a map to be precise, it would need to be life-sized and round, not flat. Ants don't have lungs. They breathe through tiny openings known as spiracles. An ant may have 9 or 10 of those on each side of the body, depending on the species. The average color of the universe is poetically called cosmic latte. In a 2002 study, scientists discovered that the light coming from other galaxies averaged into a beige color that was very close to white, just like the drink beloved by many. There is such a thing as minus decibels. The quietest place on Earth is Microsoft's anechoic chamber in Redmond, USA. The level of sound there is minus 20.6 decibels. Such chambers are built out of heavy concrete and bricks and are placed on springs to stop vibrations from entering the chamber through the floor. Bananas are radioactive. Wait, where did you go? It's not that bad. Bananas are rich in potassium, so each banana is slightly radioactive due to the natural isotope potassium-40. On the other hand, your body contains around 16 milligrams of potassium-40, so you're actually about 280 times more radioactive than that poor banana. And in any case, your body gets rid of that excess potassium-40 from a banana within several hours. There's simply no such thing as a straight line. You just need to zoom in close enough and you're bound to spot some irregularities. Even a laser light beam is a bit curved. In emergencies, fish form orderly lines. For example, when evacuating through narrow spaces in dangerous situations, school of neon tetrafish queue so that they don't crash into one another or clog up the line. Scientists think that this behavior means that fish can respect social rules even in emergency situations, unlike us humans. Hippos can't swim. These animals have large bones. These bones are so big and dense that it makes hippos barely buoyant at all. So these animals don't swim. Instead, they perform something like a slow-motion gallop on the riverbed. Hippos can also sleep underwater thanks to a reflex that allows them to rise to the surface, take a breath, and sink back down to the bottom without waking up. Lego bricks can withstand compression better than concrete. A regular plastic Lego brick can support the weight of 375,000 other bricks before it breaks. Theoretically, it could allow you to build a tower more than 2 miles in height. But if we decide to scale this up to house-sized bricks, the price would be exorbitant. If you ever go to space, you can take your yo-yo with you. In 2012, NASA astronaut Don Petit took a yo-yo on board the International Space Station and used it to show some tricks. You see, a yo-yo mostly relies on the laws of conservation of angular momentum to perform tricks. And if you keep the string taut, these laws apply in microgravity too. There's a theory that claims that we sweat when we're anxious to alert the brains of other people that they're primed for that danger that's making us feel anxiety. Brain scans have revealed that when you sniff the sweat produced by a panicking person, regions of the brain responsible for emotional and social signals light up. And when you are anxious, your sympathetic nervous system produces hormones, including adrenaline, which switches on your sweat glands. There are rainbows on Venus, and they're called glories. A glory looks like a series of colored concentric rings and is caused by the interference of light waves inside droplets rather than the process of reflection, refraction, and dispersion of light, which produces rainbows. Protons look like bagels, spheres, peanuts, and rugby balls. In other words, protons come in different shapes and sizes. Their appearance changes based on the speed of quarks, smaller particles within them. If you look at the moon while being in the southern hemisphere, it will seem to be upside down, and the man on the moon will look more like a rabbit. You will remember more of your dreams if you sleep badly and wake up many times throughout the night. You're also more likely to remember your dream if someone or something wakes you up in the middle of it. Dogs tilt their heads while listening to people to pinpoint familiar words like walkies more effectively. It also helps them to understand the tone of your voice better. There's also an idea that if a dog doesn't tilt its head often, it's because it relies more on sight and less on sound. Mirrors facing each other won't produce infinite reflections. Each next reflection will be darker than the previous one, and eventually, they will fade into invisibility. Mirrors absorb just a fraction of the energy of the light falling on them, so the total number of reflections mirrors can produce is around several hundred. You can smell ants, since many species of these insects produce strong-smelling chemicals when they feel threatened or angry, or when they're being squished. Trapjaw ants release a chocolatey smell when they're crushed, and citronella ants give off a lemony odor when they're threatened. Giraffes hum when they want to communicate with each other. Researchers think that this low-frequency humming might be a form of contact call between individuals that have been separated from their herd. It can also help giraffes find each other in the dark. But the coolest thing about these magnificent animals? Some scientists think that they could sleep talk too. And a cool bonus story for you. About a marathon runner who took over 50 years to finish the race. Japanese marathoner runner Shizo Kanekuri was selected as one of the 2 athletes that Japan could send to the 1912 Stockholm Olympics. But Kanekuri shockingly disappeared during the marathon race. It turned out that after a rough 18-day-long trip to Stockholm, first by ship and then by train, the man was exhausted. During the race, he stopped running because his condition simply didn't allow him to run further. The athlete stumbled into a nearby garden party where he drank orange juice and stayed for a while to recover. Later, Kanekuri was so embarrassed by his failure that he returned to Japan without notifying anyone, including race officials. So, Swedish authorities considered him missing for 50 years before finding out that he was peacefully living in his home country. In 1967, the athlete was offered the opportunity to finish his run. He accepted. 54 years, 8 months, 6 days, 5 hours, 32 minutes, and 20.3 seconds after he started the race, he completed the marathon. It was a long trip. Along the way, the man got married, had 6 kids, and 10 grandchildren.
You see these blades? They have notched corners to make your cutting experience smoother. Ooh! The front edge notch helps with separating blades during manufacturing, while the trailing edge notch helps the blade glide easily. And a fun fact, that notch on the front also helps you spot unused sections of the blade. Just a little visual indicator to make your life easier. When it comes to silver versus black blades, they're both made from the same stuff. But black blades are sharper and are better suited for cutting through tough materials, while silver blades strike a balance between cutting power and durability. If you want that extra cutting oomph, go for black. Oh, almost forgot. The only thing those blades aren't meant to cut is food. It has a rust-proofing oil coating, which is not safe for humans. Check this one out. It's totally giving me childhood vibes. Now, I remember my grandma having tomato-shaped pincushions just like this, and sometimes they would look more like a salad, with a little pepper thrown in there. Well, believe it or not, this salad actually has a purpose. The tomato keeps your pins in place, while the pepper keeps them sharp. Those peppers are filled with sand, which helps keep your pins nice and sharp. And it's not just sand. Crushed walnuts can also be used to keep your pins in tip-top shape. Now look at this multiple pocket tool and this little hook on it. It's a bit of a mystery, but it's actually pretty handy. I counted at least 4 different applications. 1. You can use it to carry all sorts of awkward stuff, like camping gear or heavy parcels. 2. Need to twist some wire or play around with knots? The parcel hook has got you covered. 3. This hook can save the day with those stubborn zippers, like the ones on your luggage. 4. It's great for pretending to be a budget version of Captain Hook. If you know more applications, let me know in the comments. Apple users, with this feature, you'll never get laundry surprises again. Now, I bet you've had this situation at least once in your life. You wash your stuff, and when you take it out of the washing machine, the size seems to only fit your cat. Your iPhone camera can actually translate those funky laundry symbols for you. There are 2 requirements though. You must have iOS 17 and your phone must be in English. Take a photo of the care label, go to the Photos app, and see the details of the image. Everything will be automatically decoded and explained to you. Now, many toasters come with nifty removable crumb trays at the bottom. It's super important to give these trays a good clean every now and then to keep your toaster running smoothly and avoid any potential fire hazards. Just pop them out, shake out the crumbs, and you're good to go. Where you shake them out is up to you. Those little compartments on your gas pump aren't just for show. They're actually there to hold your cap while you're filling up. This nifty feature keeps things tidy and prevents any spills or drips on the handle. So, say goodbye to messy refueling experiences and hello to a cleaner pump. Plus, it makes the whole process way more convenient and efficient. Now, I'll bet your oven gets so greasy and dirty sometimes that you can even hear it oink. Just kidding. I know you're a tidy person. Anyway, if you're looking for a way to bring your kitchen cleaning to a whole new level, here's a tip for you. Most oven doors have handy latches that let you pop the door off for easy cleaning, saving your poor back from the strain. When you're draining noodles or potatoes, there's no need to bother transferring everything to a colander in the sink. Just throw the colander right into the pot, hold it down, and pour the liquid out. It makes life so much easier, especially when you want to save that starchy water for recipes. It's a must for authentic pasta, by the way. So let's say you've snagged this gem at a thrift store a while back for just under $1. It's seen better days, serving as an ashtray, but you decide it's time to give it a new lease on life. Here's the lowdown on how to make it shine again. Mix up a solution of boiling water, baking soda, and table salt in a bowl lined with aluminum foil. Let the piece soak for about 15 minutes and repeat this process 3 times. In between soaks, gently scrub any rough spots with a microfiber cloth. After the final soak, dry the piece off and rub on some toothpaste, baking soda, and peroxide. Buff out any remaining tarnish with a clean, dry microfiber cloth. Rinse it off, and now your piece is practically gleaming like a mirror. These aluminum foil boxes have nifty little tabs on the sides that make it super easy to grab a sheet without any hassle. It's like a fancy little bonus that makes the product a breeze and ensures you'll have a smooth sailing experience every time. Manual can openers often come with a handy built-in feature, also known as a bottle opener. It's like getting 2 tools in one. But did you know that this bottle opener actually has another useful function? It can help you loosen those stubborn, hard-to-open jars. Simply lift the lid slightly at a couple of points with the bottle opener, and then watch it as it effortlessly twists right off. Yeah! Okay, I just found that, apparently, you're supposed to save the first and last slices of a loaf of sliced bread for last. It's like a bread hack or something. Apparently, those end pieces help keep the rest of the bread fresher for longer, and you shouldn't eat them until you've devoured the rest of the loaf. So, next time you're making a sandwich, save those heel slices for the very end. Even bread eating needs a good strategy. Now look at those blue levers on the top rack of your dishwasher. I was curious about them too, and it turns out they're actually water bottle sprayers. They help to ensure that your bottles get a thorough cleaning and rinse during the wash cycle. Many vegetable peelers have those little scoops on top for taking out the eyes from potatoes. And here's a cool tip. You can actually use vegetable peelers in both directions to peel faster, but most people just stick to one direction. When using yellow mustard, make sure to push the lid of the bottle all the way open until you hear a satisfying click. This way the lid will stay securely in place and won't get in the way when you're dispensing the mustard onto your food. It's a simple step that can make your condiment experience hassle-free and enjoyable. So there. You know that little hole at the end of your pot or pan? Well, it's not just for show. You can actually use it as a handy holder for your forks and spoons. Next time you're cooking up a storm in the kitchen, just pop your utensils in that convenient little hole and keep them close at hand. Okay, just a heads up to remember to switch the direction of your ceiling fan for the changing weather, and to give it a good clean too. I've seen that a lot of folks found it helpful before to reverse the fan's direction by flipping a switch for different seasons. So this is just a friendly reminder to go ahead and do it again, pushing hot air down and pulling cold air up. When you're chowing down for some pizza, just tear off the top of the box and use it as a big old plate. You can even rip the box in half and fold it to save some leftovers for later. Well, that's it for today. What, you want to know more cool facts? Sure, but you'll have to subscribe and hit the bell to get more videos. I'm waiting. Go ahead. Now, doctors recommend risking your life at least twice a day. I mean, brushing your teeth at least twice a day. But you see, the seemingly harmless toothpaste that peacefully chills on every American counter poses a life-threatening danger because of one not-so-harmless ingredient, sodium fluoride. Now, don't get me wrong, not every toothpaste out there contains it, but most of them still do. But don't rush to the bathroom to trash your tube. If you swallow a tiny pea-sized glob, it isn't fatal. I'm talking about larger quantities. A toothpaste tube has only 0.15% fluoride. To send you running to the hills, you must consume around 8 tubes one by one, so technically, toothpaste is totally safe. Let's go and look for more dangers at your place, shall we? Personally, I don't have this one, but if you happen to have a CFL light bulb, you gotta be extremely cautious with it. The thing is, many of those bulbs are made with mercury. If such a bulb breaks, you gotta start by turning off your ventilation system. Otherwise, the contamination will only get worse. Make sure everyone has left the room, then open a window to allow for fresh air circulation. Finally, clean the area where the bulb shattered. Be careful to address both wet and dry surfaces and contact specialists. Mercury vapors are definitely the biggest concern when it comes to this element. Take, for instance, a case of 2008, where a 55-year-old guy in Oklahoma tried to extract gold from old electronics using liquid mercury. Unfortunately, he inhaled too much vapor and sadly passed away just 10 days later. The contamination was so severe that they had to completely gut his house. Now, you definitely don't want your favorite clothes to get ruined by moths, so you might grab some mothballs to exterminate them. But watch out, those mothballs can exterminate you too. They usually contain chemicals like naphthalene or a paradichlorobenzene. When these get into the air, they turn into gas. That strong smell you associate with mothballs kicks in. Those fumes can actually irritate your eyes and lungs, and may even cause headaches, dizziness, and nausea. Plus, there are concerns about these chemicals being the cause of major conditions that even modern medicine can cure. Naphthalene is especially risky because it can break down your red blood cells, leading to a condition called hemolytic anemia. So try to swap those balls for good old lavender. Moths aren't big fans of it. Now, it's super important to keep an eye on the plants you bring into your home, because some can be surprisingly harmful. Take Dieffenbachia, commonly known as dumb cane, for example. Rumor has it that its sap can cause your tongue to swell up so much that it can block your airway. But can it really? Yes and no. It's true that this plant contains poisonous, tiny needle-like crystals called rapides, but they require someone to actually chew on a leaf first before any fuss happens. Otherwise, you might just feel a brief burning sensation or observe some skin redness. In rare cases, you might see some swelling in the area that touched the plant. Generally, just a little nibble leads to mild discomfort, so please don't snack on your potted plants. This warning is more for the safety of your pets, especially cats. Now, if Dieffenbachia stays in contact with the mouth for too long, it can cause some serious pain that might linger for days or even weeks. In those cases, a trip to the hospital might be necessary, especially if the throat gets affected, as that could impact breathing. But don't believe the hype that Dieffenbachia is a lethal poison. That's just an urban legend. The bottom line? One must be really dumb to get poisoned by a dumb cane. Now, using a power washer can be more dangerous than you might think. The intense pressure can lead to serious injuries, and the high-speed spray can kick up debris that might cause even more harm. If you do get injured, infections can set in quickly, and without timely medical care, things can get really serious. Think severe complications, potential limb loss, or even worse. But honestly, it's not that scary. Just don't overdo it with pressure. Here's a friendly tip. Don't skip out on your weekly house cleaning, especially when it comes to the bathroom. The longer you put off cleaning it, the more risky it becomes. Bathrooms are notorious hotspots for bacteria, which makes regular cleaning essential. You definitely don't want those unwelcome guests like norovirus, E. coli, salmonella, or even Staphylococcus aureus hanging around, along with those molds and mildews. Just put things into perspective. An average toilet seat can host over 200,000 colony-forming bacteria. And here's another thing to keep in mind. If you're not careful while cleaning, you can accidentally create a dangerous situation. Mixing bleach and ammonia can release a toxic gas called chloramine. Those fumes can lead to some pretty nasty symptoms, from shortness of breath to fluid in your lungs. Guess what? If it happens, you will probably kick the bucket. And I'm not talking about the one you use for cleaning the floors in the bathroom. On a sweltering summer day, having air conditioning is definitely a blessing. But don't let that trick you into thinking there aren't risks involved. If your AC is on the older side, it can lead to various issues. For example, the ductwork and filters can trap harmful mold, bacteria, and allergens. If those aren't addressed, folks in your home might end up dealing with coughing, wheezing, or a stuffy nose. Plus, an aging AC unit can pose a fire risk. Older components tend to generate more heat as they try to keep up, and if they're not replaced, you could end up with a potential fire hazard. Faulty wiring is another concern, as many wires are tucked away in hard-to-reach spots, making them tough to inspect. So, if you have an older AC, it's a smart move to have it cleaned properly and ensure that its parts and wiring are up to date to avoid any fire risks. Snuggling under a cozy electric blanket when the weather turns chilly sounds like a dream. But if electric blankets get too hot, they might lead to burns. This risk is particularly significant with older models that don't have an automatic shutoff feature. So the best way to use such a blanket is to warm up your bed and then turn it off before you crawl in. There's also the concern of heat stroke linked to the use of an electric blanket. Once, 2 people were discovered unresponsive in their beds beneath electric blankets. The first person's body temperature reached an alarming 106.2 degrees Fahrenheit, while the second person's temperature was 105.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So while these blankets offer comfort, it's crucial to use them wisely. Just a quick heads up about windshield washer fluid. It contains methanol, which can really pack a punch. If ingested, it can cause everything from dizziness and headaches to severe poisoning. Make sure to store it safely and keep it in the original container. Never transfer it to unmarked bottles. It can easily be confused with water and other harmless liquids, and that's a big no-no. Methanol is super toxic. For a grown-up, 2 to 8 ounces can do the trick. You know what I mean. The windshield washer fluid you dump into your car usually has about 30 to 50% methanol in it. But the concentrated versions? They can pack a serious punch with 90 to 100% methanol. Just remember, these products need to be diluted with water before you use them. The last everyday thing on our list does seem to be a great buddy of ours, especially if located in the bathroom. But although air fresheners can give your home a pleasant scent, many of them release volatile organic compounds that can build up over time and may pose serious health risks, including neurological issues and incurable conditions. I suggest, if you were to ask me, you play it safe and think about opting for natural alternatives or enhancing your home's ventilation instead. Got that? Good. So listen, if you don't want your next barbecue party to end up at the emergency room, you might want to get rid of that wire brush you used to clean the grill. Over 100 people have to seek medical help because of it every year. Those brass and steel bristles easily separate from the brush and stick to cooked food that ends up in your mouth. With each swallow, they go deeper and deeper. They can poke into or puncture the lining of your mouth, throat, and esophagus, or somewhere else down your intestinal tract. The symptoms this causes could be signs of many different conditions, and because of their tiny size, the bristles are really tricky for doctors to spot. So you can lose the precious time to solve the problem at an early stage. In some cases, one ER visit can solve the problem, but if the bristle moves into deeper tissues, say into your neck, chest, or abdomen, well, it could start an infection, and you'd need some complex surgery to save your life. That was the case for a 63-year-old lady in Michigan. She was eating a hot dog grilled by her husband, and she felt something was wrong from the first bite. She could barely swallow the food because of an unusually painful sore throat and had to see the doctors for help. They sent her home after an inspection, but the symptoms only got worse and worse. A CT scan several months later showed the problem was some tiny metallic object that looked like a piece of hair at the back of her throat. The doctors were able to remove it during surgery. So, to play it safe, take good care of your wire grill brush and inspect it before putting food on it. If you see any loose or dangling wire bristles, get rid of them. If this sounds like too much work, just toss that brush altogether. There are some safe alternatives to it, like wooden panels, pumice stone, nylon bristle brush, or liquid grill cleaner. You can also roll a piece of aluminum foil into a ball and use grill tongs to hold it while you're scrubbing your dirty grill grates. Cooking pros say an onion cut in half can also do the job. The caterpillar that arrived at your barbecue party as an uninvited guest might seem cute and harmless, but not all of them are safe to pick up and play with. There are several types of venomous caterpillars in the US alone that can give you a hard time. Any brightly colored caterpillar that has a spine, bristles, or looks fuzzy could be venomous, and you're better off not touching it. Many caterpillars are equipped with hairs or spines, which are connected to poisonous glands. They often hide on the underside of the leaf, so you could easily miss it. So, when you're doing some work in the garden, it's a good idea to wear gloves and clothes with long sleeves. Your skin will thank you for it. If you get stung by accident, use any sticky tape to remove the hair or spines, and then just wash the affected spot with soap and water. If you plan to go swimming or boating to cool down after the party, remember that algal blooms aren't just a freaky splash of color in the water, but a real problem. They are toxic and can cause a lot of trouble for you and your pets. The symptoms will be less than pleasant, and will involve you spending a great deal of time in the bathroom. Algae bloom means there are plenty of bacteria in the water, so don't swim in it and don't drink the water, no matter how thirsty you are after all the swimming. And if you happen to get some ingested water on your skin, take a long shower with clean water immediately. The media should report cases of dangerous algae blooms in your area, so make sure to check it before you hit the nearest lake. Wild parsnip might not appear in your summer nightmares, but this yellow-flowered plant can do some really mean things to your body. It contains a substance called solarin, and when you accidentally touch it and then enjoy a walk in the sun, the effect it will leave on your skin will be as nasty as the name Sorolin. And you could have dark red or brownish discoloration on your skin for months after your unwanted rendezvous with the plant. It's mostly active and mischievous between May and July, so watch out. Alright, a garden hose must be completely safe as, unlike the grill brush, it doesn't have any small metallic parts, right? Well, when you leave it hanging out in direct sunlight, the water inside can heat up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. If you spray someone with water this hot, their skin won't love it. It's especially dangerous for youngsters and pets. So, if you see someone blissfully unaware, grab the hose, take it from them by force if needed, and let the water run for a few moments before you let anyone play with the hose. It's for their own good. The intense sun can also heat up all the bad chemicals the hose itself contains, like lead and phthalates. So, check what yours is made of and replace it with a safer version that's labeled lead-free or drinking water safe if you plan to use the water for drinking or playing. And if you already have a safe version, but suddenly smell a terrible odor, it could be the algae and bacteria that just love stagnant water. If it comes into contact with your skin, or you swallow it by accident, you could have some serious health problems. The best you can do is replace the hose. And yes, make sure you keep it in a cool, shaded area and drain it well after every use. Now, you're never too old to love the trampolines, but the trampoline might not love you back and give you a spinal injury or broken bones. Almost 100,000 injuries like this with young users happen every year, because they're so easy to fall from or land in the worst possible way during a somersault or a flip. The biggest risk of trampoline trouble is when more than one person is using this fun contraption. Nearly 75% of all accidents with trampolines happen when two jumping youngsters crash into one another. And no, some netting or padding really can't save the day. If you want to keep things safe, make sure there's always only one person at a time on the trampoline. You're going to need to install shock-absorbing pads that completely cover the trampoline's metal frame, springs, and hooks. If you see any signs of the padding getting too old, like tears and fraying, you need to replace it immediately. Make sure the trampoline stands on level ground and isn't too close to other structures and trees. A slide in your backyard, no matter if it's made of metal or plastic, can turn into a frying pan under the sun and can heat up to 189 degrees Fahrenheit. So, before you jump on it or let someone else do it, check the temperature of the whole thing top to bottom. And even when your little sister or someone else you love is begging you to go on a ride with them, don't do it. The slide is designed for one person of a certain size. When the two of you end up tandem sliding, the smaller leg can get caught up between the bigger leg and the edge of the slide. The speed will also increase, and it can lead to all sorts of drama. Finally, no matter how tempting it feels in the hot months, don't walk barefoot on that beautiful lawn in the park or even in your own garden. You never know what's hiding in the grass, and if you step on something sharp, like a rusty nail hiding in the grass, you'll get yourself into a lot of trouble. Flip-flops aren't the best idea for everyday summer shoes either. They rarely come with arch support and can make you take shorter steps and put more stress on your body. It's just not good for your feet, joints, and muscles. Otherwise, have a great summer! Fun fact: Olympic synchronized swimmers, now renamed artistic swimmers, don't usually wear swim caps. When they compete, they put Knox gelatin in their hair. The result resembles unflavored Jell-O. Athletes mix the gelatin with water and it turns into a gooey mixture. After that, they comb and brush the substance into their hair, pull it into a bun, and put a headpiece over it. When it all dries, it becomes really hard, and swimmers' hair doesn't fall out when they swim. They often add glitter and other decorations to make their hairstyles even more exciting. The blanket octopus is called this way because of the females of the species. They're supersized and rarely seen. They have a long, fleshy cape which encloses their tentacles. Female octopuses are large, up to 6.5 feet in length. Thanks to this cape, they look even larger and much more intimidating to potential predators. But the coolest thing about these creatures is that the male blanket octopus grows to be a mere 1 inch in length, which is smaller than a walnut. This makes the blanket octopus a species with the largest gender size difference in the entire animal kingdom. Red Bull has published a video showing the so-called world's fastest camera drone following a racing car around Silverstone's Grand Prix circuit. The Dutch drone gods are a company that custom-built the manually piloted drone designed specifically for keeping up with cars moving at speeds of over 186 miles per hour. It took more than a year for Red Bull and the Dutch drone gods to create a drone that could accelerate twice as fast as a Formula One car, reaching this breakneck speed in just 4 seconds. The drone's top speed is almost 220 miles per hour. Recently, scientists have concluded that water might not be wet. You see, wetness is usually defined as a liquid's ability to maintain contact with a solid surface. It means that the water itself isn't wet, but it can make other objects wet. Okay.
Wow.
The Maldives 1,000 rupiah banknote has captured the attention of people from all over the world and received a lot of praise for its stunning design. The note features the striped pattern of a skin of a majestic whale shark and a green sea turtle against a vibrant blue backdrop. It's already been called the prettiest currency in the world. Now, wearing a tie might be more dangerous than you think. It can reduce blood flow to the brain by 7.5%, making you dizzy and nauseous and causing headaches. Ties can also increase the pressure in your eyes if it's too tight. Plus, they're great at transporting germs. Gotta think again whether following that dress code is so necessary. A young girl from Washington broke a Guinness World Record by putting on 45 sweaters at a local library. Sophia Hayden pulled on each sweater individually all the way down to her waist before moving on to the next one. It was done to comply with Guinness World Record rules. She also had to make sure that none of those sweaters was ripped, since damaged items didn't count. As a result, she broke the record for the most sweaters worn at once. The previous record was 40 sweaters, and it was set by a French 11-year-old boy in 2022. Later, Sophia's mother admitted that it had been tricky to gather enough sweaters for that attempt. The sweaters were then donated to charity. Now, it was Louis XIV of France who is believed to have brought salt and pepper together, forming the basis for modern cooking. At that time, only rich people could afford to add pepper to their meals, and the king liked his food to be lightly seasoned with just salt and pepper. Our sun produces a sound, but sadly, we can't hear it. It's emitted in the form of pressure waves, and their wavelength is measured in hundreds of miles. It means they're far beyond the range of human hearing. Now, while we're on the topic of space, let's discuss the fact that our solar system has a wall surrounding it. Well, kind of. It's called the heliopause, and it's the region of space where solar wind isn't hot enough to push back the wind of particles coming from distant stars. That's why this region is often considered the boundary between the solar system and interstellar space. Another space fact for you: comets smell like rotten eggs. I know, ew. Other smells that might surround them are those of burning matches and even almonds. That's because of the traces of hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen cyanide found in the makeup of some comets. In 2016, promotional postcards were even made, carrying the pungent scent of a comet. Now, in any career field, the average worker is productive for around 60% of their working time each day. But if we talk about office workers, this percentage drops drastically. One study determined that the average office worker is productive for a mere 2 hours and 23 minutes per day. The thing is, employees are interrupted in general every 3 minutes and 5 seconds. And it takes people a whopping 23 minutes to get refocused after an interruption. It means that employees get 3 minutes of work done for every 26 minutes they spend at their workplace. Unbelievable. No wonder that statistically, people working remotely are much more productive. Scottish soccer team Inverness Caledonian Thistle Football Club is known for using cameras with AI ball tracking to live stream their matches on YouTube. Well, once, in a 2020 match against R United to be precise, when a camera repeatedly tracked an official's bald head, mistaking it for the soccer ball. Uh-oh, what a blunder. Now, speaking of sports, football teams wearing red kits reportedly play better. Accordingly, the color of your attire affects not only how you're perceived by others, but also how you feel. A review of football matches in the past 55 years has shown that teams wearing red consistently play better in home matches than teams dressed in any other color. One more awesome story connected to sports. In order to draw some of the most wanted criminals out of hiding, the U.S. Marshal Service once came up with an offer crooks couldn't resist. They invited them to the Super Bowl. In December 1985, more than 100 people came to the Washington Convention Center after receiving a letter informing them that they had won tickets to the largest sporting event in the country. According to the invites, they had been selected randomly from a clearinghouse list of D.C. residents and were supposed to receive 2 tickets to the Redskins vs. Bengals game that day. But to get in, they had to come to a pre-game party to collect their tickets. And guess what? The plan worked like a charm. Over 100 criminals were arrested, which made Operation Flagship one of the most successful in U.S. police history. Now moving on. Your brain is eating itself non-stop. Wait, don't panic yet. It's a totally normal process known as phagocytosis. During this process, cells envelop and consume smaller cells or molecules to remove them from the system. Luckily, phagocytosis isn't harmful. It actually helps preserve your gray matter, keeping it in top shape. Boy, I could use more of that. Giraffes are 30 times more likely to get hit by lightning than people. Between 1996 and 2010, there were just 5 documented lightning strikes on giraffes that ended tragically. But if we consider the fact that the population of the species was just 140,000 at that time, it makes for around 0.003 lightning casualties per 1,000 giraffes each year. This is 30 times more than the number of tragic accidents involving lightning strikes that happen to people. Animals experience time differently from us humans. To smaller animals, the world around them moves more slowly. For instance, salamanders and lizards experience time not as fast as, let's say, dogs and cats. All because of the perception of time, which depends on how quickly the brain can process incoming information. And finally, snails do have teeth, between 1,000 and 12,000 to be precise. These teeth aren't like ours though, so there's no need to picture snails with silly toothy grins. Snails' minuscule teeth are all over their file-like tongues.